One. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. This is a later broadcast, later in the evening. I did have some work duties, so unfortunately, I wasn't able to get on as soon as I would want or at the regularly scheduled time. But nevertheless, we are here, albeit a couple hours late. What we're going to be talking about, as you see on the monitor behind me, you do see the word backwards. Just yesterday, the state of Louisiana actually made it a law, an actual law, that the Ten Commandments must be prominently displayed in all classrooms. Now, right off the bat, I want to hear from you folks because the first question I'm going to have is what is the purpose of this? What is the intended goal to require schools to display the Ten Commandments? Now, many of you are aware that when it comes to DEI, CRT, give you my three-letter acronyms, but you know what DEI is: diversity, equity, and inclusion. CRT, whether we're talking about LGBT issues, all of this stuff, when presented in schools, we often hear that folks are trying to shove a particular mindset down the throats of children. So, if we do not want something shoved down our children's throats, why would the Ten Commandments forcibly displayed in schools? Why would that be okay? Are we being hypocritical of sorts when we say we don't want things forced down the throats of our children, but we're suddenly okay with the Ten Commandments doing it? Are we actually being hypocritical? Or do you believe this is something children need, something that would provide structure and perhaps make them better human beings? So we're going to tackle it from both angles, but it is certainly something worthy of discussion and almost certain to be challenged all the way up to the high courts. Forcibly displaying the Ten Commandments in all schools in Louisiana. And this goes right on up to higher learning educational facilities, if I'm correct. So we're not just talking about it, we're not just talking about elementary schools or high schools, right on up into college and universities. They have to prominently display the Ten Commandments. And I believe the requirement is that it's displayed on a poster size, whatever you want to call it, poster size. You know, a big ass poster. So there's no way you're going to miss it. So is this going against, let's say, church and state, separation of church and state? Even for my folks who are devoted Christians, how do you view this? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you believe it makes it so that in America, Christianity has a hierarchy over all the other religions? Or do you believe that perhaps we could put the Quran or any other religious instrument on the walls of classrooms as well? Wow. Jokes never. Wow. Thank you for that. Jokes over everything. Thank you for that galaxy of appreciation. Wow. So we're going to be asking this question in regards to forcibly displaying the Ten Commandments in schools and whether this is shoving religion down the throats of our children. Also, a side topic, there are still folks suggesting that Biden, come November, will not be on the ballot. Folks are still, because we've seen Biden in recent times, whether it's at a Juneteenth parade and he's not dancing, you got a paratrooper on the ground and it looks like he's walking off in space. You got Barack Obama guiding him off stage. Folks are saying that Biden is so out of his faculties, he's not going to be on the ballot in November. So I certainly want to hear your opinion on that as well. Do you believe that Biden, they're going to drag this right on up to the election and perhaps replace Biden with somebody else. Wow. I'd like to hear your opinion on that as well. By the way, we are on the backup page. That's pretty damn obvious. Tap the screen. Get the likes on up to at least 10,000 if you could. It will help out the algorithm. Not only are we on the backup page, this is a live that's a little bit later in the evening than what we normally do. Hey, listen, work duties called. I had things going on, so I couldn't get on earlier. At the end of the day, I do have a day job. I love to speak to you guys every day for a living, but it is what it is. So looking in the comments, Kamala will take over us. So you believe that Biden could potentially win the election and hand over the reins to Kamala Harris? Wow. So then that would make Biden responsible for appointing the first black vice president in U.S. history. Whoa. Interesting. So looking in the comments, they will make the switch to Big Mike. Who is Big Mike? Oh, I know. You know, a lot of folks believe that Michelle Obama is of a different gender. They're going to make the switch to Big Mike. Okay, it's humorous. Fuck you, but it's humorous. I like it. I like it. By the way, we don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary, so understand that. You may hear things you don't favor, whether you lean left, you lean right. We go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. So this is an uncensored program. It is, always will be MAGA friendly in its entirety. Been that way since day one, always will be that way. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome on the program. Looking in the comments, though, Trump was forced by a judge to rent to African Americans. Look it up, seriously. No need to look that one up, Alex Angel. It is absolutely true. Trump lost a court settlement showing that they were putting the letter C on rental applications to indicate the potential renter was a person of color and not renting to them, and actually discriminating against them. And it is a case Trump lost in court. Tammy Green, friend of the program, thank you for that beautiful puppy, that beautiful graphic. So we're going to go straight to the box. One of my team members, subscribers on the program. Good evening, I guess we'd almost say, Anthony, if the box brings him up.
We'll see.
There we go. Good afternoon.
What's up, buddy?
Not much. You almost sound like Pauly Shore there for a minute. Good afternoon, though.
I mean, I tried. Not really. I'm cooking dinner, so I'm a little away from the phone.
We can all hear. We can hear you.
I've been wanting to come on the past few days. I've been listening. Every time I come on your show, I get banned. So I've been keeping quiet lately.
Okay. Well, we'll try to keep you on the good side. Let me ask you, as you see on the monitor behind me, you see the word backward. Folks are suggesting that forcing religion in schools like you're doing in Louisiana is the Republican effort to take this country backward. What say you?
So, now I heard you mention, look, I got chicken on my hands. Give me 2 seconds.
All right. Guess what? Thank you for the subscription. I did see that. Guess what? Thanks for the support on the program. Go ahead there, Anthony.
All right. So I heard you say a few seconds ago it's on a poster, like a poster board or whatever.
Yeah.
The 10 Commandments, whatever.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? What, 3 foot by 3 foot, 2.5, 2.5. So my thing is, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not religious. I mean, I believe there's a creator. I don't believe in the Bible. I don't believe in a storybook. I believe there's a creator. There's something else out there, whatever the case may be. But why are the 10 Commandments so hard to live by? I mean, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. Those are not that big of an issue.
Well, let me respond to you from 2 ways. Now, apparently, there's more than one version of the 10 Commandments, but I will bring up the copy I got. And also, you asked, why is it such a big deal? Well, they made it a freaking law. If it's not a big deal, why would the governor make it an actual law?
I mean, I would rather my kids learn to not steal, to not cheat, to not kill people, rather than they can just cut their shit off, cut their tits off, cut their balls off, take a bunch of hormones, and you know, I mean, and I'm not against it because I don't care what you do.
But is this not shoving religion down the throats of children?
I mean, not if it's on a poster board on a wall that most liberals and Democrats can't read. I mean,
you're talking about school kids. They're not liberals or Democrats at that age.
I mean, well, you know, the people are pushing their kids to be liberals and Democrats, so it is, you know.
Come on. I get your point, Anthony. But
when I was in elementary school and middle school, do you think I read every poster board that was on the wall? No.
But you're not answering the question as to why would they require it by law to be in their face.
I don't get that. I don't get why it's a law. I really don't. I mean, I get it. You might have a religious school or something. They want to post it on the wall or whatever. But a law is kind of crazy because we got some super fucked up laws that really does not. I mean, would you support a governor passing a law that excerpts from the Quran had to be on the wall? I mean, I don't know much about the Quran, but I like I said, I'm not super religious, so I probably not.
Why not though? You said you're not religious, so you don't know much about the Bible either, and you're okay with the Ten Commandments.
I didn't say I support it, but I'm just saying it's not that big of a deal to live by a code that you don't kill people, steal from people. It's not that. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal. I don't know what the Quran's commandments are.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. When you say it's nothing wrong with teaching kids not to steal, there's more in it than that, Anthony. First of all, here's 10 Commandments. Here's number 1. You shall have no other gods before me. That's not teaching a kid how to not steal or kill. That's shoving religion down their throats, is it not? That's number 1.
So the way I see it, I mean, God is my creator. Whether it's the earth or whatever, you can consider whatever you want your God. But we know Hollywood's God. It's a satanic God. So I mean that really doesn't label who your God is.
No, but it's basically saying there is a God. What if the parents are atheists or they believe in multiple gods? This is shoving the notion of a single God. What if they call him Allah or Buddha? Maybe they don't even call him God. Maybe they call him Jehovah. Is this not shoving God down the throats of children?
I mean, yeah, I can see it. I can see it your way for sure.
Yeah. Also, it said, I'll give you another one. You shall not misuse. This is number 3. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. So in other words, don't use God's name in vain. That's not teaching a kid not to steal or not to murder. That's shoving religion down their throat.
I mean, yeah, but what is using God's name in vain? What is that? I mean, it's kind of vague. It's not telling you.
It's religion. It's religion.
You say it, like, I mean, blasphemy, whatever the case may be. What does that mean?
It's forcing children to believe that God exists. I mean, maybe just like we say with the LGBT community, you're talking about chopping off dicks and things like that. A lot of people believe, as opposed to forcing LGBT. You got a call?
Yeah.
I'm moving on. Yeah. All right. Come on back anytime. I'm moving on. Look it in the comments. That's what we're going to be talking about. Requiring the 10 Commandments to be displayed in schools. Do you believe it is potentially taking us backwards? I don't know what my graphics are all over the place, but Trixie said it's like calling Orange Man Jesus. Hopefully nobody's calling a man Jesus. Wow. Child abuse is happening at the DMV every day when those 16-year-olds walk in the door and give their date of birth What the hell? That has nothing to do with the program. All right. Tim, do you worship the devil? Says Bird Dog. Nope. The answer is no. I appreciate your input though. Real quick, making them, here's another one. Bearer is a U.S. national, says, making them pledge allegiance to a fucking flag is child abuse. And so is taking him to the DMV when they're 16 years old and telling them they need a freaking DMV ID driver's license, Liars Club card. Ooh, I don't know about all that. You believe it's child abuse to require a child an ID at a DMV? How does that abuse a kid? I'd be curious. Real quick, go to church if you want to preach God stuff. I believe that is appropriate. I do believe that is appropriate. So going back to the box, we're asking that question. Are we going backwards, forcing religion, forcing the 10 Commandments to be prominently displayed in schools? Are we indeed going backwards with this? Nevertheless, we will go back to the box. Larry Pecan, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. 10 Commandments prominently displayed in schools, Larry. What say you?
It's going backwards. I mean, it makes no sense. I don't see why. I just don't understand why.
Are you a Christian?
I'm a Christian. My faith is with God. Okay, I'm not a holy guy. Where I'm going to church every day. Not like that. But I do believe in God. I think He's Almighty.
This should be something you would agree with. Sounds like.
No. Cause, a question for you: how many people you think follow all 10 of those commandments?
0. Nobody follows all 10 of them. There are folks who probably.
So that's why I don't even see why it needs to be up there. They're not going to follow it. But
Well, go ahead.
one thing I just want to ask, because I'm not going to be long on here, because I just want to ask you, for all the mega fans that come up here, please to answer the question. Every time you get one of these mega fans on here, it beats all around the question. They come up with their own, you know what I'm trying to say. But that's all I want the mega fans to do. When they come up here, answer your question. They stop going all around the question. That's all.
All right, fair enough. I'll see if I can try to keep their feet to the fire. I appreciate you coming on, Larry. Come on back anytime, man. Thank you. All right, so I gotta hold your feet to the fire, says my last guest, Larry. We do attempt to do that. At the end of the day, liberals, Republicans, and MAGA alike, oftentimes when you ask them a question they don't want to respond to or maybe not have a decent answer prepared, folks will deflect. Hell, I've been accused of doing it. So a lot of folks do deflect, which is what my last guest was pointing out. We'll make the attempt to keep folks' feet to the fire. So asking this question though, do you believe it's inappropriate to require the 10 Commandments be prominently displayed in schools? Classrooms, by the way, all classrooms. I want to say something that's a side topic. I mean, this is still on topic, but you know the whole voter ID, making sure we have a free and fair election, maintaining the integrity, trying to limit fraud, requiring everybody to have an ID, and some liberals say they can't afford an ID, and people are like, that's bullshit. The money used to actually print out a poster size display of the 10 Commandments, that could have created a whole lot of voter IDs. This right here because not only is it going to be money to make these posters, it's going to be a lot of legal challenges to this stuff. A lot of attorneys are going to be charging a lot of hours as this continue to be fought by the ACLU right on up to the high court. I would submit to you the money that is used to deal with this, and there's no guarantee, by the way, Louisiana is going to win this, but the money that's going to be used in regards to this fight could have given everyone in the state of Louisiana a voter ID. I mean, it would probably only cost about a nickel or so to print out a picture, put some ink on the picture, maybe a fingerprint or something, and print that shit out in mass so that everybody has a voter ID. Louisiana could have used this money and gave everybody in that state a voter ID and then passed a law requiring them to present it at any election. But they chose to go this way. So look it in the comments, though. So red coat, blue coat, same bull, just different sauce. Joe Evans, I don't quite get that. But then again, it almost sounds logical. I'd have to get you to elaborate on it. Thou shalt not have other gods before me is number one. Number two is thou shalt not make graven images of me. That state issued ID violates both of those commandments. You got some some really interesting posts there. Bera is a U.S. national. That's interesting. I don't know if I agree with it. It's interesting the way you stated it though. Gods is plural. Well, the fact is, if you don't believe in God though, it kind of portrays atheists as unreal or something of that nature. But we'll continue on with one of my friends of the program. I think this is Gen X. Good afternoon, Gen X. Always my subscribers get first digs. Appreciate you coming on, Gen X. So what do you think? You think Louisiana's taking us backwards?
As a conservative?
Yes.
Religion does not belong in schools. I think that's too far. If
Wow.
I want my children to have a faith-based education, I will send them to private school.
So
It is too far.
and you are a conservative. You're likely voting for Trump, correct?
I'm in Kennedy court.
Kennedy.
I'm in Kennedy.
I don't say
I'm
that.
a moderate conservative.
Okay. All right.
I believe in financial, conservative, and liberal social values.
Are you a Christian?
I am.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So, do you see any harm in this? I get that you don't believe it should be done, but do you see any way this might be harmful?
I think it can be.
Say that again.
Well, look at how many different faiths we have in our schools. I said,
Yeah.
Look at how many faiths we have in our school. We have Muslims, we have Jewish, we have Christians.
Yeah.
But
how do you?
it leaves out everybody else because the Ten Commandments are definitely in the King James Bible for Christians.
Right. I'm being told it was actually delivered by Moses himself. So.
Correct. It was the book of Exodus.
Yeah, and I'm not I grew up Christian, but this part, I'm not like very savvy on this, but I do know the Ten Commandments is Christian based, no doubt at all. But how do you respond to people who might say this is a Christian country?
That's great. It's a Christian country, but aren't we supposed to be inclusive? And isn't posting the Ten Commandments exclusive to all other religions in which it does not pertain to?
Yeah. I think when we said separation of church and state, I don't honestly believe they actually meant that. I mean, it came, just like all men are created equal or bring us your tired, your weary, your poor. I think it was just phrases that sounded good, made us look good, but in reality, we didn't actually mean it.
Oh, yeah, they were campaign slogans.
Yeah.
Do you remember when politicians used to say, kiss the babies and steal their lollipops?
No, I always heard it to be shaking hands and kissing babies. I didn't know you were stealing shit from them.
No, I don't know where I heard it. It might have been from a comedy show or something, but it was always saying, kissing the babies while taking their lollipops.
No. But now you mentioned being a Kennedy supporter. You would be a big fan of states' rights, would you not?
Yes, I would.
Okay. So what about the argument? Let's say
I'm a big contradiction.
Wait, say that again?
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Please ask your question.
You admitted you were a fan of states' rights, being, a moderate, leaning conservative. So what I wanted to ask you is, how would you feel if this ended up going all the way to the high court, which it undoubtedly will? How about the argument that we're not forcing religion on anybody, we're just handing the power to make the decision to individual states?
That is a very good question and something I had not thought about.
Yeah. So from
but
that,
I also believe in smaller government.
all right.
So it's a conundrum. But I mean, it doesn't belong there.
Okay. So
it does not belong there.
What if it was placed on the ballot, and in Louisiana, a deep red state, very Christian based, and the people of Louisiana got to vote for it, and they voted, 70-80% in favor of teaching Christianity as the prominent religion in schools. Now you said you're in favor of states' rights. Here it is, the people of a state voting in favor of it. Would you agree with it then?
Well, if the states have the right and they can do that, then would I be in favor of it? No. Would I agree with it? No. Would it be absolutely 100% their right to do so? Absolutely. Okay.
So based on the scenario I presented, if you were the judge making a decision, you would be okay with that. You would be you might say, I'm not a fan of it, but if the people voted it in, you would go ahead and allow it.
I would like to think I have common sense. It does not make me smart enough to be a judge.
Well, we just speculating.
We're returning this. Let's play the what if. Let's pretend.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're speculating. We're speculating.
Okay, I would allow them to do it. Yes.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's the argument.
Because our country was built for the states to govern themselves.
Yeah. Well, you do realize, me personally being a minority, I will always, because I'm not a big fan of states' rights for the simple fact that a lot of states wanted to maintain their right from a states' rights level to really, really mistreat minorities. So for minorities, America's history in states' rights is awful. So for me personally, I get a bit scared anytime somebody starts promoting states' rights, because usually it's the right to limit somebody.
How would you balance this? How would you balance this?
I'm gonna if it came down to me, as if I was sitting behind the bench, I would vote against it, because no matter what state we're talking about, there are going to be people that represent other religions in those states. Not to mention, I don't believe this is, just like a lot of folks believe that teaching LGBT issues is harmful to children. This teaches stuff like thou shalt not commit adultery. Why does a third grader need to be told that?
They don't. Those are values that should be taught in the home. And that's, while I do believe in states' rights, there are just some things that shouldn't be crossed. We should have one flag in our schools. We should not be teaching religion in schools. Morals, values, and beliefs are a home-based schooling.
My argument is the same argument you often hear from the right in regards to LGBT issues. I don't want, sexuality being taught to my child.
No.
They should be allowed to wait till they're 18 to make their own decision. Well, why can't they do that with religion? Religion is a very serious decision too.
It is. Yeah. And they can and they should. That is my position on it.
Yeah.
None of that belongs in the schools. These are children.
Yeah.
Let the parents raise them in the manner in which they feel is fit and appropriate.
Yeah.
And stay the heck out of it.
I could not agree with you. But I got to move it on. But before I do, based on our conversation, based on how a lot of folks on the right view teaching and promoting LGBT issues in schools, but they're favoring Christianity, is it safe to say that the right has been a bit hypocritical on this?
Absolutely.
All right. No disagreement there?
You can't have one without the other. You got to keep your table balanced.
I like it. Gen X, appreciate you coming through. Come on back anytime.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely, Bye. Absolutely. My sentiments exactly. So looking in the comments, education is becoming more than education. That is true. That is true. It is becoming more than education. Some parents are morons, and the kids need to be protected from them. I don't know if I agree with, I can't disagree with that. There are some moronic parents, but I think that should be handled on a case-by-case basis. Putting the 10 Commandments on the wall is not going to protect kids from moronic parents at all, by the way. I mean, it doesn't even stop us adults from doing what's wrong sometimes. Gen X, Appreciate the super chat on YouTube. Says, why does a simple reminder of morality for children send the loony left into a frenzy, but the LGBT degeneracy and perversion reminds reminders for kids is okay? He refers to that as being sick. And my answer is what I've been discussing already, is that the Ten Commandments, you probably can't, I'm bringing it up so I can read it. So that's what's on the screen there. But in regards to your statement, and I always tackle the super chats in detail, why does a simple reminder of morality for children send the loony left into a frenzy? Because all of this is not a reminder of morality, Gen X. You shall have no other gods before me is not a reminder of morality. That's straight hardcore religion, period. That is somebody telling you their God has hierarchy over other stuff. That ain't got nothing to do with morality. Same thing about commandment number 3. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. That's what it says. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. In other words, using the Lord's name in vain. That ain't morality. That's Christianity. Period. You're not teaching the kid how to do better in life. You're teaching the kid religion. That's what you're teaching them. You're teaching them that God has hierarchy over everything. So, you shall not covet another neighbor's wife. I believe that's one of them. Why does a kid need to know that? Why is that being... Kids are not trying to covet somebody's damn wife. I mean, even though I thought my 4th grade teacher was pretty damn hot, but I wasn't trying to covet the bride. So I think there's more than just morality in there, Gen X. Thank you for the super chat, though. So looking in the comments, thou shalt not kill. Now, that's morality. But there's a lot of these commandments that has nothing to do with morality. They're just straight religion. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. That's number 4. That's not morality. That's religion. That's just plain and simple religion. And I see somebody in the comments, Gregory said morality is just an excuse. Going back to the box, if you took out the ones that have something to do with religion and just put 4 or 5 of them up as morality related, maybe we could have a discussion. But a lot of these have nothing to do with morality. They're just hardcore religion. Going back to the box with Wing Ding King. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Put God back in school, says Reginald Wright. Wing Ding King. Good afternoon.
Handsome, what's up, brother?
Not much at all. Good to have you on. God back in schools. What do you think?
Hey, man, it's funny how a country that killed everybody want to talk about thou shalt not kill. Right? Hey, man, this shit is laughable, man. But what do you expect, man?
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird, but I understand it, bro.
Are you suggesting that?
Teach the 42 laws of my yacht.
Are you suggesting that America is one big Christian nation full of hypocrites?
Man, America is one big killing pool, man. One big killer pool, bro. They killed everybody. They didn't kill me. They killed themselves. They didn't care. All of a sudden, now these immigrants coming and all that shit. Now we need the 10 Commandments. Come on, man. The 10 Commandments was taken for the 42 laws of Mayat from Kemet. So if you really want to go backwards, let's go all the way backwards.
Your statement reminds me of a joke I once heard from the comedian Corey Holcomb. He talks about how he picked his girlfriend up from an abortion clinic after having a procedure, and she gets in the car and he's playing 50 Cent, the rapper, and she's like, turn all that music down. I don't want to hear about all that killing. And he looks at her and goes, you're the only killer in the damn car. That's what that sounds like.
It's hypocrisy at its best, bro.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what's wrong with the political parties of both. Like I say, you got the right who want to all of a sudden be these Christians and everything, and then you got the left who's overly concerned about the alphabet people. You know what I'm saying? But really not concerned about the people.
So do you believe what they're doing here with Christianity in schools? Do you believe it is actually harmful to children?
Yeah, man. Come on, bro. It's 2024. If you're not teaching your children this at home, nowhere in the world you should infringe on other people's rights.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody other parents don't want their children to know about the Ten Commandments. Like the lady said before, you got Muslims, you got Jews, you got everything. So why would you infringe, especially children, man? If you're not teaching them that at home, why put it in the school? It's not gonna stop it. They still gonna kill. One of them children still gonna be the one to kill about 17 or 18 of them. It don't matter, man.
Shit.
It really doesn't matter.
So what do you think the goal of this is? Requiring all schools, up to and including universities and colleges, wow, to display the Ten Commandments in every class. What do you think the goal of this was?
Hey, man, to make America great again, bro. To move us back into the past.
So you would agree with the sign behind me backwards.
We're afraid of the future. The future is what it is now, man. It's a lot of different people in America, man. Regardless of how they live, what they do in their private time, whatever, bro. You're not gonna stop it. You're not gonna stop it, man. A person gonna do in their personal lives, they're gonna do it. You're not gonna stop them. If you didn't learn this shit as a young child, you're not gonna abide by it, man. It's over.
Yeah, but
they keep trying to go back, bro.
yeah, but if you put the Ten Commandments up in elementary school, so you mentioned if you didn't learn it as a young child, if you put it up in schools, now you're basically forcing all kids to learn it as a young child.
Yeah, that's true. So that means you also got to let them read about that dude wanted to kill every firstborn.
What?
He wanted to kill every firstborn. That's in the Bible, even though it's not true. But he wanted to kill every firstborn.
Oh.
So he can stop the Messiah from being born.
I did.
Talk about all the murders and the rapes.
Yeah.
That coincide with the Ten Commandments. They say all the tickets, but they was doing everything in the Bible. Killing, raping, molesting, doing everything, man. Going and killing whole communities of people.
Wow. So,
Come on, man. Boy, if you ain't read that Bible, man, I'm gonna tell you something. It's a horror story, bro. It's a horror. The Bible.
I certainly have not read the Bible from cover to cover, but I am aware that it is a brutal book. I mean, just from your faith alone, if you don't follow God, everything about it says that bad things are going to happen to you. Awfully violent things.
It's a fear. That's what Donald Trump doing. His policy is fear.
Wow.
The right is based upon fear. They don't have any policies. They not pushing anything to help the people. The only policy they got is fear. That's all they have. It's only fear.
So you're telling me that MAGA is supporting Trump because they're scared?
No, it's what he's promoting.
Oh.
You know, he's promoting fear. He's scaring people. He's scaring people like, oh man, if you do this, like he said, 100% of the jobs, 100% of the jobs are all being taken by the illegals. 100%.
100%?
Yeah, he actually said that out of his mouth.
Wow.
So he's a fearmonger, bro. So, and this with the Ten Commandments, all they doing is just pushing fear. But if you want to push, you're gonna push the Ten Commandments. You might as well push the entire book. What's the entire book? Don't just say, oh, we're gonna follow the Ten Commandments. Hell no. Follow it all. Follow the fact that he killed everybody on the earth and left Noah alive with his family.
Wow.
That's murder.
Yeah.
That's genocide.
You know, damn, you worded that really well. I would never have thought of it like that, but I guess you're right. If you destroyed the entire planet.
He's a jealous God.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe in him, he's gonna kill you.
That is exactly what you're taught. As bad as you made it sound, I mean, that's exactly what you're taught is if you don't follow him, he's going to kill you.
No, man. Listen, man, the first Bible was the Ethiopian Bible. That's because those was the first people, basically. The first people along the Nile that wrote the Bible. The Bible was taken from all type of languages, and then the nomad Jews who didn't have a place to go, they took the other.
My caller may have had a call. Guess what? On YouTube said he needs to reread the Bible. Guess what? Stay in the comment. What did he miss out on? And I'll move it on. My guest apparently had a call or something. He went down. Always welcome back. You know how the program is ran. It's uncensored. By the way, I haven't been soliciting at you folks to tap the screen, get the lights on up for my TikTok audience. Get me on up to about 40,000. I know this is a smaller audience. Had work duties, so I'm definitely on later than normal. But I do appreciate you folks rolling with me. About 400 of you here. Normally it's about twice as many. But tap the screen. Helps out the algorithm, and yeah, certainly get the likes up to about 40,000. Let your thumbs not be lazy. Don't see a lot of tappers in the program. Lack of participation. Maybe you guys think this topic sucks, but it is what's going on, folks. Our topics can be great. This is what's actually going on in our world, in our country right now. So I do want to discuss it. In regards to guess what on YouTube, like I said, thanks for the super chat, saying that he needs to reread the Bible. I'd be curious, what do you believe he's getting wrong? Because, like I said, I grew up Christian and I was taught the same thing, that if you didn't honor the teachings of God and, for the most part, devote your life to him, you would be killed. You would be killed. Or you'd be condemned to hell, which is actually a condition worse than death, burning in an eternal flame. I mean, that's what I was taught. So let me know what he got wrong there. Looking in the comments, Jesus is the only man that fulfilled all the righteousness before God. Well, it's his son. Wouldn't that be his job? Trump Bibles are for sale. Magats. That's what a T at the end of MAGA. Magats, did you buy yours? Asked Kevin. Kevin. Them Bibles ain't cheap. Trump Bibles were like $60 or something like that. However, I will say this. In addition to owning a few MAGA hats, I got a lot of actual MAGA paraphernalia around here, but I like buying political paraphernalia. Some of this stuff ends up being artifacts. You can talk about it in the future. I do believe the shoes and the Bible might end up being collector's items. It wouldn't hurt to have a Bible around the house. But $60 is a bit costly. But I believe in buying political artifacts, and I would certainly get it. Just like you guys saw me the other day with I thought I had it down here with the bleached blonde butch body bitch or whatever the hell. I've purchased that. A lot of little shit. Let me go back to the box though, but real quick before I continue on, here's a couple older artifacts I wanted to show you, which is why I'm looking behind me. This one here, I'm sure you guys are familiar with. That is the dark Brandon mug. I know on YouTube it's backwards, but that is the dark Brandon mug. I have that around here in addition to some Trump won, Trump was right hats. This one here I thought I really treasure this one. This was a little bit older. This is the Barack Obama, says made in the USA on the front. Obviously, there's a reason why he would say he was made in the USA with the birther movement. On the back of it, it is his long form birth certificate. This came out during the time when they were talking about he wasn't born in a different country, but he actually has his. There's a lot of detail in it too. The signatures of his parents is on there. All of that. That's the long form birth certificate for Barack Obama. So anyhow, I do keep those around here. But anyway, continuing on with the program, we will programmed and made in America, says Robert Banks. And by the way, thank you folks that are tapping the screen, but you can't pay your college bill. Those cups are like $25. You know how much money I have to pay every month for college? Not even close. I would give all those artifacts up to make my college loans go away. That Obama coffee cup is fire. Yeah, I like it. You're not entitled to your own facts, says Bandito. Fair enough, because I am willing to admit I don't always have all the facts. Perhaps you could straighten me out, let me know what you're talking about, and if I think you're right, I'll concede the point. going back to the box. Murphy MAGA. Murphy MAGA. Love the name. Is that a combination of Murphy's Law and MAGA, perhaps? Murphy MAGA. Christianity in schools. Murphy, what say you?
Good, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to have you on. How do you feel about the Ten Commandments forcibly displayed in all schools in the state of Louisiana?
I think wouldn't that be what's that, indoctrination? Wouldn't that be indoctrination?
It sounds that way to me.
Yeah, I don't want my kids learning about. It's a story in the damn book about David. He was told to go circumcise 100 people. His ass went and circumcised 200 people, walking around with diggling skin. I don't want my kids learning about that.
Is that in the Bible?
Yes. Look up the story of David. He was told to circumcise 100 men. He went overboard. Did 200 men. He was walking around with these funky skins around.
No way. A story in the Bible where a character, David, was told to circumcise 100 men. That's in the Bible.
Yes, sir. What about the two girls that were trying to get their daddy drunk and sleep with him?
Wow. I gotta read the fucking Bible. Oh my God.
Look, sometimes when my wife not giving me something, I'll pop open the Bible with him, you know. It's a lot of sodomy, all type of stuff. You put the LGBT community, the sodomy, remember, it was a whole city.
So
the city of Sodom, right?
What? Yeah, I've heard of that, Sodom and Gomorrah. But
what do you think they were doing in that city?
Oh my God. It's like a mini porn hub.
Yeah, that's why those people be jumping around and hollering, hooping and hollering. That's that Holy Ghost in them booty holes. That Bible is a basic like HBO Max of the porn industry. Like Playboy, you know, the magazines, they're just like soft Playboy magazine, the Bible.
You know, it's interesting you bring that, because I've mentioned that before, is that when folks talk about LGBT issues in schools is teaching children about sexuality. You're correct. There is a lot of sexuality and violence in the Bible. I mean, it's all over the place. You know, Cain killing Abel. I mean, it's all over the Bible.
I think it's weird that a lot of heterosexual men waking up at 6 in the morning, getting on this app talking about trans men and women. It's kind of creepy. I wake up with a hard on, so I'm not thinking about trans women.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes you don't know. I've had a few followers on my page here on TikTok and on YouTube, and I don't mind. I consider myself an ally to the community, but I've looked at a couple trans women and thought, like, man, I've never had a drink in my life, and if I didn't know, I would be trying to hit that. I mean, they're doing a good job in transitioning nowadays.
You remember TV shows used to have the episodes where they used to bring out 10 women, and they used to say 5 of them was born a boy.
What show was that?
Like they used to be like on Ricky Lake and what's that lady, Sally?
Oh yeah, the talk show. Yeah, they did used to have that. Wow.
I used to get out my pen and paper. I was horrible with that shit. You hear me? I was picking guys all the goddamn time, but it didn't make me feel weird. But seriously, it didn't make me feel weird. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought to myself, like, those are some confident people, regardless. I mean, I didn't feel weird because I didn't want to date them. That's not my preference. I just felt like, God damn, you could trick me.
I'm just laughing because you said I was picking guys all the damn time.
Yeah, I was horrible at that shit. But again, it didn't make me feel weird about it because I know that, you know, I don't want that type of woman. You know what I mean? But if anybody should be mad at somebody, it should be these damn surgeons. They're getting too damn good. You can't get mad at people for going to Dr. Miami.
But let me ask you that. Let's say, for instance, you were actually dating somebody, a potential love interest. Y'all had went on a few dates. You know, you hadn't tried to hit it yet, and you was being a respectable gentleman. But the conversation, the chemistry was there. You're talking to each other for hours at night, and you're really falling for this person. And then, you know, finally when things get hot and heavy, maybe after knowing them for a few months, and you about to hit it, they pause and tell you, you know, I was biologically born a man. I have, you know, I've had the surgery. I have female parts, but I was biologically born a man. Now, you're emotionally attached at that point. Would you throw it all out the window?
Yeah, because that's just not me. I mean, I'll be pissed off there. I'll be, very angry that you wasted my time, obviously. Um, yeah, I'll be fucking heated that you wasted my damn time. But I mean, like, no thank you. No thank you. I mean, thank you for telling me, though. Thank you for being open. And again, just because, they decided to go that way doesn't mean that my feelings and the genuine friendship that I have with that person is just over with. But I mean, don't expect for me to text you no more late night, 3 in the morning for that shit is over. But I mean, you still, regardless, just because I found out, obviously I like the fact that you're a good person. I learned that you, even if it's your family, friends, associate, obviously you're a good person. If I like you, just because I found out you did, you spent money on surgery and a damn good surgery if you trick me. Yeah. But again, no, I'm not gonna be angry at them at that. I guess I wouldn't be angry for the reasons that. But
what if it? I mean, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole. But what if before you tried to go hot and heavy and take off clothing, you did have a makeout session, and then the minute you went for a bra strap or a zipper or something, the person paused and said, "I got to tell you something." But you've already been the smooching and all of that has been taking place.
I can't put myself in that shoe. But if I guess I would, I mean, I'm an asshole. So like, I want to know, did you get the full surgery? Because like, it's plenty of women out here that got plastic all through their goddamn body.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference when these women coming back from off them plane and they can't even walk because they got new booties, new legs, new stomach, face, leg. A woman herself can look like fucking Honey Boo Boo, and the next day look like
Yeah. I think the way science is, you mentioned really good doctors. Before I move it on from you, you mentioned really good doctors. I think the day is going to come when you might not actually be able to tell, where you actually are in a relationship with somebody, and maybe you find out after y'all broke up, you've been hitting it and everything. Just thought, this might be the pussy ain't that great, but she's a nice girl, and you don't know because it's been created by a physician. But I mean, because there's a lot of, even with natural born women, some of them, you get down there and it's like, this ain't really all that cool, but she can really cook dinner pretty well. So, I mean, and I think eventually that may happen where
they are already making it where, the inverted make you ignorant. Like when you look at it, you wouldn't even know most, like you said. She slapped some KY jelly on you, you good to go. Most men, if a woman turn the lights off, you don't know which damn hole you in when she get, you know what I mean? Guys don't give a shit which hole, the ear hole, pores. If she have a big pore in her face, he'll stick it in there. Like, men don't give a shit. Like, let's be real.
So yeah, I can't disagree. And with my love for plus size women, sometimes you realize you spent your whole night enjoying some back fat. I gotta move it on though, Murphy. Appreciate you coming through.
I'll just leave out by saying this: like, people, be nice to everybody. All right.
I cannot agree with you more. Thanks for coming through. All right, moving the program on. You should know, says Kurt. Sometimes you should know, but sometimes it become the liquor, as T-Pain once said, blame it on the alcohol. Sometimes people, you don't always know. Especially some men get a bit excited for what you don't, it can happen. Anyhow, looking in the comments, and I see some MAGA Truth said he was funny. I enjoyed talking to him. Y'all talking from experience, guys. CPT cowboy. Hopefully not. Biden should retire and Trump should leave American politics alone. He is a nasty person, says Sid. Wow. Nasty person, huh? Yikes. That was started under Trump. I don't quite get what you mean. Whole night enjoying back fat. Hey! Things happen, or you end up with a fupa. I mean, things happen like that. It certainly can happen. They're getting rid of Biden and putting Hillary Clinton on the ballot. Just watch, says MAGA Michelle. I don't know if it would be Hillary Clinton. I think that that would be an interesting proposition, but I think because Hillary has a lot of big negatives, even with Democrats. Certainly the Bernie bros would still consider her to blame for why Bernie Sanders didn't get his shot. So I think Hillary Clinton's time for the Democrats. Now the Democrats are going to go to Hillary Clinton over Trump 10 out of 10. But there are a lot of independents and things like that that do not favor Hillary Clinton. I think the Democrats would probably have more of a united base under Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer or somebody like that. I don't think they would put Hillary Clinton in the slot, but anything can happen. Going back to the box, and Mike says, "Hey, Black Lives Matter. Where is the justice for Julian Woods of Ohio?" Huh, interesting. Who is Julian Woods of Ohio? I'd be curious to know. Give me the story for it. I would certainly, we could discuss that. But moving on, I don't know who Julian Woods is, but I would certainly discuss it. Going to the box, we'll continue on with Stick the Ruler, friend of the program. MAGA is talking dumber and dumber every day. MAGA is over. It really is. Says, what does that say? Piss tradition? Really? You think it's over with for Trump? Stick the Ruler. Good afternoon.
Hey, what's going on, Handsome?
Not much at all. We're talking about Christianity being forcibly injected in schools. What say you?
I think it can be a good thing, but at the same time, I don't think it's right in the sense of, just as your other caller said, Gen X. And I will probably rarely agree with somebody of her, but at the end of the day, she was absolutely right. You can't force that on these kids. Their family might be Buddhist, their family might be Taoan, their family might be just of a different faith, and that's not cool.
But you said you think it could be a good thing. Elaborate on that. What makes you say that?
Well, the reason why I'm saying I think it could be a good thing, just as well as being in the military and believing in God myself, my dad was actually a pastor. So at the end of the day, I know the book very well. And just as your last caller said, yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on in the Bible that these kids really probably wouldn't even understand. That's number one. And
Right.
I know it's just the Ten Commandments we're talking about. But as we all know, kids like to dive into things, and
Right.
so now we're talking about those books that down here in Florida that they're banning. We're borderline, or maybe even right on the line of what they banned.
Wait, what do you mean?
Because of all the things that are in the Bible.
Yeah.
I mean, they're banning books. So at the end of the day, the books that you're banning and the things that you don't like to see is in the same book that you're promoting.
That's a great point. I get your point now. That's a great point. Is that they went through a lot of books in libraries, and the parents are saying this book needs to be removed from schools because it has sexuality in it or LGBT issues. And you're right. The Bible has all of that stuff in it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's one of those touchy-feely situations in the sense of you got those tendencies that we see all the time in the press, whether it be Notre Dame, whether it be the Catholic Church, and I mean that's religion.
Yeah.
That's coming straight out of the church.
Yeah.
So, hey, again, I'm a parent, and I do want my kids to be God-fearing, but at the same time, I don't want the government telling me that this has to be, because it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
If I want to teach them what my father taught me, that's on me. It's not on you. And don't put it in anybody else's face as a boast or a brag to say we're the predominant and or the minority. No, they're not the majority. I'm sorry. We're the majority, and this is what it is. Because that's what Louisiana is. It's like every major office is held by a Republican.
Yeah.
I mean, they just had a 2-term Democrat governor, but at the end of the day, that is no more.
Yeah, that state is pretty far to the right, if I'm correct. David Duke is from down there, isn't he? Didn't he run for Congress or something down there? And he actually got a good percentage of the vote.
Well, and the Bible says, know thy enemy. I don't really know a lot about David Duke. I know enough to know about him, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I know that he was Grand Wizard or whatever they call themselves. And I know that he didn't change his ways. So I know enough about David Duke to know that, and I'm good, you know, because I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't know a lot about him or where he's from. I just know the name, and I know what he was about.
Yeah, if I'm correct, he ran for office down there in Louisiana, and he got like 30% of the vote or more. So there was a lot of people willing to vote for him, despite that type of a history.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's one of those people that I'm 45, so I really don't know a lot about him. Like he's at that time where I was thinking more about, you know, can I get this girl down the street? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I really wasn't even focused on politics. I mean, I knew that at the time of politics, that Bill Clinton was the dude, you know what I mean? When I actually started paying attention, I would say.
Right.
So, and then going forward, any other Democratic, you know, nominee for this United States, that's who I went for. And I could say at one time, you know, I used to look at it and just be like, you know, take your time, look at the person, and yes, look at their policy. Now that I'm older, but back then it was really more or less like what it is now, starstruck. I mean, Bill Clinton, he went on Arsenio Hall, he played the saxophone.
I remember that.
You see what I'm saying? So it was more, yeah.
So what are you saying, that the American voters are starstruck about Trump?
Well, the MAGA Republicans are. They are. You know, I'm not starstruck. I think the guy can be funny in a sense of he's said hilarious things to me. But at the end of the day, what's hilarious to me, he's actually being serious. And that's the danger.
But what about the notion that under Trump, we had, you know, cheaper price at the pump. You didn't have all these global conflicts going on. We weren't facing World War III. People believe that America was a stronger country on the global stage. You don't see any of that?
No, I don't. And the reason why I don't see any of that, what they're talking about is because, number one, we were in a conflict. That's why before, or should I say after Trump got out of office, they pulled out of Afghanistan, correct?
When Trump got, well, Betty had, Biden is the one that was part of the withdrawal. Trump made an agreement with the Taliban, so they would, yeah.
That's my point. So again, we was already in the conflict, is what I'm basically saying.
Okay.
So that we were in no conflict thing, and then he had the thing with Syria, and he had a couple of conflicts going on. But again, if they want to say nothing was going on and gas prices, tell me why the gas prices was low. You can't, because his economy was inherited. So at the end of the day, again, it's just something that they put themselves in the mind to say, well, Trump was president and this price was like this, so I'm going to give him credit for it, and there's nothing nobody can say about it.
Well, but that's how it generally goes, Stick. Whatever happens under your watch, you're going to get credit for it.
And I understand that to be the way of the world.
Right.
But let's talk about the way of the world and reality. Reality is he came in and he really didn't do anything. With Biden, probably, you could say he probably didn't do anything. Neither one of them could do anything about gas prices. So what do? You do what you can.
But let me ask it to you this way, because in the comments, Pep says because of his cooperation with oil companies, many folks will say that with Trump, he had a better rapport with the likes of Saudi Arabia. They're going to talk about the pipeline, him being willing to drill, and they're saying that is the reason the price of oil was cheaper.
Well, I would ask them, why did he tell them we were going to pull our troops out if they didn't stop pumping 10 million barrels of oil, a day?
Wait, repeat that?
Why did he threaten Saudi Arabia to stop producing oil at 10 million barrels a day? And if you don't, I'm going to pull my troops. We're not going to protect you. This is what Trump did. Now, mind you, he did that in the midst of COVID. We were already not driving. So if we would have kept getting those 10 million extra barrels a day, gas prices would have really dropped. But he's not the smartest guy. He wanted to keep the gas high. He wanted to keep making sure that Saudi Arabia was making money. So instead of saying what I just said to Saudi Arabia, like, I want to keep the gas high, he made it like, if you don't stop, because guess what? You're gonna make the gas go down because we're getting so much petrol that nobody's driving. So the price is gonna drop. So just stop producing it. And if you don't, I'm gonna just take my military away, and you ain't gonna be protected.
Yeah, but you know, a lot of people like Trump because he does things like that. He throws around his weight and bullies other countries.
So a lot of people like high gas prices because, again, if we had those extra 10 million barrels a day, gas would be low, especially at the time of COVID, because nobody was driving like that.
I don't know if I recall. I hear what you're saying. I don't know if I recall it that way though.
It's supply and demand. If you got a lot of something, you got to sell it cheap.
Right.
Because you're trying to get rid of it because nobody's buying it. It's supply and demand. And again, MAGA doesn't even realize that because you can go back and you can look it up. That's what he did with Saudi Arabia. Told them, reduce it by 10 million barrels a day or I'm going to pull my troops.
And the sole goal was to make the cost of fuel go up?
To keep it where it was at. To keep them making money. To keep them, because he's in actuality, again, I'm saying it to say it as a businessman, he's trying to keep all the business people happy. Look, if you don't do that, this is going to happen. And he was right. The price was going to drop.
I'll just say this. Like I said, I don't have all the answers. I'd have to go look that one up. I've never heard that. I see folks in the comments. Some agree with you. Others are saying it's not true. I've never heard this before.
It's very true. Just like his son got the $2 billion from them as well.
Yeah, I know about that. Jared Kushner. Yeah, I know about that.
I wouldn't get up here and miscue and tell misinformation and disinformation. This is very true. This is something that you can Google. You can also Google that he what do you call it? Deregulated the FAA.
I'm certain. I'm aware of that. What I was saying is the part I don't know. You're talking about him having Saudi Arabia reduce their oil production. You're saying it was to please the big businesses or big businessmen and make the price of fuel go up. I would have to look up and see what reason Trump gave for doing it.
Not to make it go up, to keep it
yeah.
To keep it steady.
To keep it artificially high.
Yeah, well, to keep it to where it was at.
Yeah.
Which everybody loves saying he had $2.40 gas or he had $2.60, whatever. Whatever the $2 was, they love repeating that.
Yeah, but what I want to find out, because you're giving me your reason of why Trump did it, to keep fuel prices artificially high. I want to hear Trump, what he gave as his reason for doing it.
Again, you ain't even really heard about it. So, unless you really go, do your research, then you'll know. Again, even with the Jared Kushner and his daughter Ivanka and all of the patents they got from Trump, like all of this stuff, again, Hansel, like when you hear it and then you go, oh man, he really did do that. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? It's just one of those moments. And I had one of those moments because I didn't know this until I found out about it.
Yeah, I never.
I've been pushing that. But the reason why I brought up also the FAA is we got a lot of plane issues.
Yeah. And that's one of the, when Trump took office, one of the things he promised if he got elected is he stated, for every 3-letter organization I created, I'll get rid of 2. And I'm with you that those organizations exist for a reason. There's a reason we had the FAA or the CDC or all of these organizations exist for a reason, because you cannot trust the businesses to do what's right. So if you start getting rid of the 3-letter organizations and getting rid of regulations, the businesses are going to do what is best for their pocketbooks, not the people.
Exactly, and that's what he did. He did was because he's a businessman. Remember, everybody wanted a businessman. We didn't think he was going to get the job, but he ended up surprising the shit out of everybody because a lot of people just didn't vote. Just didn't go out and vote for Hillary. So at the end of the day, he got the job. But when he got the job, he deregulated. Biden gets in office. All his deregulations were still in play until Biden changed it up. But at the end of the day, the damage was already done. It's 4 years of deregulation, or 3, or whatever he did.
Well, the right is for small government, so it does make sense. But I'm totally against it, like you are. Stick, I do got to move it on, though, man. Appreciate you coming in as always.
I just want to say this.
Sure.
The railroads and now the planes.
Wow.
Everything on deregulation is messing up. And you got Trump. To thank for that.
Wow.
And I'm out.
All right, so you're blaming it for Palestine, Ohio, too, then?
Yep.
All right. All right, fair enough. And by the way, he's not the only one I've heard on the program that blames Trump for Palestine, Ohio, where a train full of toxic chemicals derailed it because many folks say, listen, you actually deregulated the industry governing the railroad industry. So they only had like 2 employees on this train that's over a mile long, loaded with toxic chemicals, when it should have been more folks on there to basically make sure everything was being done safely. So I am kind of in agreement with my last caller. I'm not a fan of getting rid of 3-letter organizations. I do believe strongly that they exist for a reason, and they weren't created out of thin air. For instance, I mentioned the FDA, Food and Drug Administration. If you get rid of the FDA, you think they would have? Do you think the tobacco companies would have ever told you, out of morality, that their product was actually poisonous for you, or do you think they would have continued peddling it to make money? By the time they got caught up with them, they were starting to put cartoons. The camel, the cartoon character. They were actually promoting tobacco to children. The 3-letter organizations, in my opinion, are necessary. The EPA, do you think corporations would actually, due to morality, make sure that their toxic waste is properly disposed of when it could cost them millions of dollars to do it right, as opposed to just dumping it in somebody's alley or somebody's backyard for free? You think without the EPA, you could depend on them to do that? So I could go down the list. Every 3-letter organization was created because mankind had the mindset of greed, making money, and was going to do that over the land, over lives, over everything. So I'm a fan of the 3-letter organizations, because without them, I don't know if the planet, is certainly not the country, I don't know if it would survive. In the comments, Pep says, if we don't have them, we end up like China. No thanks. That is true. That is true. You'd have child labor. You wouldn't have overtime. Just like what they were doing in China, until you started having the Department of Labor, OSHA, all of these entities stepped in because the corporations, left to their own devices, were treating the employees like shit. I agree with that 100%. By the way, tap the screen. Get the likes on up to about 65,000. Got 400 plus of you in here this late evening broadcast. Same on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button. The top 3 dots in the right hand of your screen gives you access to the likes. Get it up to about 60. Looking in the comments, created unconstitutionally, says Sandra. I suppose you mean that the 3-letter organizations were created unconstitutionally? I've never heard that before. I'd have to have you explain why those organizations violate the Constitution. What, you should have a constitutional right to dump toxic waste wherever you want? The government should not be allowed to interfere? If you develop snake oil, but you pass it to the citizens as a cure for cancer, you should be able to just lie? Constitutionally protected right? Let me know in the comments. Obama said, how are you going to bring back manufacturing jobs? A wand? And he literally brought shit back, unlike anyone believed. You're talking about Trump. Veritas Dell says Obama asked Trump, "How are you going to bring back manufacturing jobs?" And Trump, like waving a magic wand, literally brought the shit back, unlike anybody believed. I don't know if I totally agree with that. I do recall Obama stating that he told Trump it's easy to promise a lot of stuff, but when it comes down to actually having to deliver it, you're going to see. And based on what I seen out of Trump's term, I think Obama was kind of right, because Trump promised to build a wall, replace and repair, what is it, repeal and replace Obamacare, and he's going to drain the swamp. Sounded great at the rallies. In hindsight, he didn't do any of those things, because as Obama said, it's easy to promise it, but when it's time to actually do it, it ain't going to be that easy. Going back to the box, keeping it moving with Soul Buster. Good afternoon, Soul Buster. Welcome back to the program. Real quick in the comments. Got the hiccups. Larger inner city business grant in history. You talking about Trump? Wow. Soul Buster, good afternoon.
Hey, Tim, what's going on, my brother?
Not much. We talking about Christianity in schools by force. What do you think?
I don't think that's a good idea, and I'm a Democrat.
Are you a Christian?
I am a Christian too.
So why wouldn't you want the children to learn the way of God?
Because it has already been clearly stated, separation of church and state. I think that's something that should be taught in the home. I think that's something that should be a personal decision that you make, Tim. I, as myself, chose to make sure that my kids receive the knowledge of God. I did that in the home. I did that when we went to church. And I also made sure that when I did it outside of the privilege of talking politics. Because I think they need to be separated, Tim.
Yeah.
And if they're not, then we're going to fall into this fallacy, what we have now with the Jerry Jones and all of these, Falwell, all of them supporting, and then some of the right-wing pastors that we have now is saying that they favor 45. I don't think that's right. I think that's a decision that an individual has to make.
Well, wait a minute. You're saying you don't think it's right that a pastor favors Trump? I mean, he is doing everything the evangelicals want. Why? It would make sense that a pastor would favor Trump. I mean, he is, despite Trump's own life, we can talk about him having multiple women and his marriages and things like that, but despite his own life, he is governing from a standpoint that is very pro-evangelical, pro-Christianity. I mean, he's doing everything they would want.
No, Tim. Come on, Tim. Let's wake up. Smell the coffee.
I'm sniffing.
Make sure they're from Colombia and not from some doggone other country. Listen, when you hear pastors get up in their pulpits and address their congregation, that if you don't vote for 45, you have no place in that congregation. Tim, that's not right.
That's different.
Your decision and your choice is a decision that you make based on the character, the content, the morality of the individual that you want to vote for.
Okay. I will say that ain't what I thought you were talking about. You're correct. I do believe that a pastor shouldn't be in church saying something like that. Vote for Trump, or you're the Antichrist or something like that. But I can totally understand why a pastor would favor Trump over Biden, because what Trump is doing when he was in the White House, or the policies he's promoting, are far more pro-Christian than Biden is. I can see why they would like him, but I agree with you. A pastor shouldn't be in church telling people who to vote for.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna give you another point of view. And I don't know if you know about Bishop Bullwinkle. Bishop Bullwinkle say hell to the no, and
yeah.
That's a way where you're saying, listen, you take that in the proper setting. The church is not the place that you bring that in. It's all about your faith in the Creator. and not in an individual thinking that that person is a second coming of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I can't have that. No way would I go along with that. No way would I back that. And Tim, anybody else that will fall for that garbage, I'm telling you now, you're on the back street of heading toward cultism. Because when someone can get in the pulpit, especially some of these mega churches, and they emphasize that and they bring people to a physic, making them think that this guy is the second coming of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, it can't work, Tim. No way.
I don't disagree with that. Like I said, when you start talking, yeah, definitely what you just said. When you say that Trump is the second coming of Jesus Christ, that is certainly cult-like material. Are there pastors suggesting that Trump is the second coming of Jesus Christ? Have you heard somebody say that?
Absolutely, Tim. There's a pastor that's in North Carolina. I'll have to bring his name up. And if I had a few minutes to mute my phone, I could pull it up on my tablet. But right now, and many people that's listening out there know that they attend some of these same doggone mega churches that are doing that. And that's not right, Tim. It's not the way that you deal with a person's spirituality. Tim, let me just say this. I don't know what your denomination is, and I really don't care.
Okay.
But I'll be willing to bet you know at least one Bible verse. Somewhere in your travels, or somewhere your parenting, someone taught you one Bible verse.
Fact.
Okay?
That's a fact.
Right. If a man is asked, what is your favorite book? And you say, the Bible. Okay, fine. That's great. Where in the Bible or what in the Bible do you adhere to, or give me one Bible verse that you like? Tim, I can give you 40 right off the top of my head. And I'm not trying to say that I'm such a almighty and high roller and know all of this. It's my training by which I was brought up.
I will say this. I think Bible verses are so common. I mean, it's hard to imagine any American over 20 that hasn't heard of at least one Bible verse.
In the beginning, Tim, come on, man.
Yeah.
I mean, John 3:16, we see this all
Right.
over the doggone in sports arenas and everything. There's so many, okay? But like I say, I don't hold that against this guy, Tim. What I hold against him is the mere fact that he did not do what he was elected to do. And that was to protect foreign and domestic enemies in this country. And he did not do it. Anytime you hobnob with communists, a foe that we have always fought against. And Tim, I'm in that number past 75. So I know that the Cold War and the mere fact that who we have fought against, if you look at the people that he wants to hobnob with, they're all dictator-type people, okay? Kim Jong, the guy down in South America, Putin, all of these people that aspire not to the mere fact of allowing the people themselves to have a freedom, he wants to go against it. So Tim, hey, and I know we kind of deviated off of.
No, I'm listening to you though, because you are kind of correct. When you think about our allies, when he was in power, the Angela Merkels, the Justin Trudeau's of Canada, Macron of France, he was not really associated with them. You're right. He's been hanging around Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, the leader of Hungary. You mentioned it down in South America. I mean, it was dictators. That is kind of true.
And so, Tim, and you know that we've always heard, and I know you've heard this and many, many other people, birds of a feather flock together. You've never seen a buzzard flying as high as a bald eagle, okay? You've never seen a blue jay in the same stratosphere as an eagle. So when you hang together with the people that you aspire to, when the people that you put on a pedestal and you make them equal and you aspire to the mere fact of their ideology, you're telling me I agree with them, Tim.
Wow.
And I don't care what Nobody else. I don't even look at comments, and I know people are just trying to dig me, and I don't care about that. But as a United States veteran who served during the Vietnam era, a war that was unnecessary, we have lost more people in the Vietnam War than we should have lost. There's no way that we should have been in that conflict. And there are many conflicts that we've gotten ourselves into. So when we go back and we look at all of this foolishness and this corruption. Oh, and I wanted to get back to the point that the brother that was ahead of me, he is correct. If you check Reuters, I think it's April 4, 2020. They have a news article in there concerning what Donald Trump did, and damn, I say this name, 45, did, okay, to negotiate the production of barrels.
I'll look that up. Yeah, I want to look that up because I want to find out in detail.
Tim, it's there.
Hold on. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just want to find out what was the explanation they gave for why they did that. Not what liberals or folks who don't like Trump is giving. I want to hear his side as well. I think just for the sake of the argument, I want to know what his side said as well. But I got to move it on though, so I'll give you the last word.
Tim, you know my last word, my brother. Hey, Donald Trump and democracy cannot stay in the same house.
Wow.
And I'm betting on democracy that it will win. Tim, have a good one, brother. Appreciate you bringing me up.
Anytime. And by the way, folks, in the comments, I saw somebody stated when we were talking about Trump has developed a rapport with several dictators. Somebody pointed out, keep your enemies close and keep your friends close and your enemies closer or something like that. It's suggesting that Trump is reaching out to these folks from a standpoint of that. I don't, it's hard to say. I get the point, at some point continuing to demonize Putin or Kim Jong-un hasn't necessarily got the United States anywhere. But looking at Trump befriending the individuals, I don't see where that got us anywhere either. I mean, we're still just as much of an adversary to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as we were before Trump took office. Yeah, he met him. He went to North Korea. I mean, he actually met with Vladimir Putin, but nothing came out of it. They didn't sign any treaties or any deals or anything. They shook hands on camera, and that really is the end of it. I think Kim Jong-un, for a very short period of time, did not fire any missiles for like 6 months, but that's it. I mean, that's it. So nothing positive, nothing tangible came out of Trump meeting with Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un. And obviously, the minute Trump left office, you got Russia invading the Ukraine. Now, I will say, and by the way, DJ Julio, yeah! Appreciate those hat and mustaches. Thank you. And I will say this. Let's say Trump was the perfect commander-in-chief for this country to keep us out of war. I see in the comments on YouTube, for instance, I can't pronounce the name, Alwet or something, says no war under Trump, though. The problem is you also got no treaties under Trump, no agreements under Trump from our adversaries. If the only benefit is, well, we didn't have any wars when he was in office, you need something that's tangible, that has some meat to it, that lasts after you're out of office. If it only lasts as long as you're in office, it's not that great. I mean, and that is what apparently happened when Trump was in office. Okay, we didn't have any major conflicts under Trump, but he didn't get anything signed or anything agreed upon so that it wouldn't happen when he left. I mean, you're max, you're only in for 8 years. That's the maximum period of time you're in. We need some signed agreements so that things carry on after you're gone. Just having it so that the people don't act a fool while you're in office. Now, if Trump was a dictator, okay, then that would be different. You wouldn't need a signed agreement. He's going to be around for the rest of his life, so we know there will be peace for a while. But he's not. America's not ran that way. So the idea that nothing happened from Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin while he was in office, but because he didn't get anything accomplished in terms of signatures, It went right back to it once he left. Looking in the comments, remember what Biden did when he got into office in regards to what immigration. What did Biden do when he got in office? Q Masonry Inc. says he was holding back China. Who was holding back China? Like I said, I need to hear about some treaties, some agreements, not the notion that, well, Trump is such a maniac or unpredictable or such a badass, everybody knew not to do anything. I think every country can wait for 4 or 8 years. That's not exactly that long in the grand scheme of things. Okay, we got a president in America that might be a badass. Let's wait 4 years. That's a very short period of time. That really, I mean, if you don't get any type of solid agreements on paper, that ain't doing much at all. Looking in the comments, you hate Russia because you can't afford to travel. What the hell does that, what is that supposed to be about? By the way, I used to live in Australia for half a decade, almost the better part of a decade. New Zealand, I mean, what do you mean? Can't afford to travel. So if a person cannot afford to travel, that means they hate the entire world? I mean, is that what you're, I mean, that was a really unintelligent comment. I'll just leave it like that. I mean, if I can't travel to California, that means I hate. Wow. Looking at the comments, nobody wants to go to Russia. I would not. Have to see what happened to Brittany Griner, and knowing that we are currently at a proxy war, they can make up any damn thing if you go to Russia as a reason to detain you. It's not like the United States are going to do much to get you back at this point. My black ass is even less. I wouldn't go to Russia even if I had P. Diddy's money and his situation. I wouldn't go to Russia. Russia is not a good idea right now. It absolutely is not a good idea. But going back to the box, because you can't afford to travel, we'll continue the program on with Mr. Walter White. Good afternoon. Let's discuss some liberal concepts. What liberal concept would you like to discuss? Real talk, real thought. Mr. Walter, good afternoon.
Hey there, Tim. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. We're talking about Christianity in schools by force.
Yeah, I've been following for a little bit, a couple hours you've been on, and appreciate it. I couldn't agree more with everything your last caller said.
Wow.
And, I salute him for his service and everything. And, anyway, as far as what you were talking about today, I mean, this is going to end up in the courts. It's going to lose. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think in Arkansas, the Church of Satan, put that big statue up on the state capitol grounds of some goat man, Satan, because they put the 10 Commandments on the state capitol grounds. So the Church of Satan decided they had the right to do their thing, and that ACLU took them to court, over it. I think it's still in the courts. I tried to look it up.
The Church of Satan. Wow. That's a real thing.
Well, so I think it's Church of Satan. I really don't remember, the specific name, but apparently they don't really, worship Satan. It's just more about being a counter to this type of overreach on Christian part. In other words, they started a bunch of for instance, in public schools, they would have sort of like Christian meetings and Christian group meetings at school grounds. So they started Satan after school, which was a group, So in other words, they're just doing it to kind of
right. They're basically being like an all gods matter type deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, all gods
anyway,
matter.
That's in court. It's been in court for I think like 5 years. This is going to go to court. Personally, I think it's going to lose, but who knows? If Trump gets back in and gets some more Supreme Court justices, who knows? But it should lose on the merits of what.
If this one doesn't lose, where they allow Louisiana to forcibly put gods in schools, I think that would be about as strong of an example. You see on the monitor behind me going backwards. To me, that would be about as strong of an example of going backwards as you can have, where the Supreme Court actually gives their blessing, the force of, forcing religion on kids.
Yeah, exactly. And this whole MAGA movement, that's what it's about. This is they're giving them, they're like throwing steak at the dogs. This is what they want. They want to move back. We talked before about talking about the Jim Crow laws. They want this.
You don't think they want to put black people back in bondage and oppression, do you?
I mean, I can't say that, but they definitely want to reduce the amount of equality that has transpired since civil rights movement. Wow. I do think that redlining, all of the methods that they used in those times, they want that back. Absolutely.
Now, Trump did say himself, and I mean, it's not a quote, but he said something similar. I think you can find it, but folks can find it if they don't believe me. But he did say, in America, we have developed an anti-white sentiment and bias against white people, and that if he becomes president, that won't happen under his watch. So I got a lot of viewers that agree with that. I don't know how that's in what ways that's happening, but I know a lot of folks that do believe that in America, whites are the ones that are kind of getting the shaft right now.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I grew up in the South, in the suburbs, and I was not aware of what this country actually had done to black people in totality until, by the time I sort of learned about Public Enemy and, Malcolm X movie came out, and I didn't even know these people. They didn't teach us any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So that whitewash thing, but once you do start, my point is that these people don't want that. They don't want us to know what they did. They want it to go back to, people are ignorant because they maintain the position that white people are superior. I mean, that's the bottom line, really. The fact that Obama was elected president, this is the counter, pendulum swing to black man being president, and we deify our presidents. This guy, they could not handle it. And
I think the way I suppose we would really be able to tell, because you said they want people kind of dumbfounded or whatever so that they can promote white supremacy. I can't necessarily say that I see it that way, but I think the best way to tell, if you start hearing that the internet is being banned, because right now, even with religion, it's going to be hard. Even if you put it in schools, you're going to have a lot of children that are going to be speaking out against religion, because kids nowadays are way more educated than we used to be. But if they start removing the internet access and things like that to kids, then I would start agreeing with you that there does seem to be some kind of effort in play to dumb down the population. Because in most countries where you do have dictatorships, the amount of media the people have access to is greatly limited.
Yeah. No, that's the next step. You look at China, you look at Turkey, you look at Russia. That internet goes through filters. Yeah. Right now, we don't have that, but they want that. They will do that. And I'm not saying that Democrats actually probably don't want that. They probably do, to be honest. The control is just too great of a, it's like one ring. You just can't, they all want it. But I do think that we have to push back against that. That's why I think, we do need some more independent voices. On that subject, let me just say this one thing, because I've seen this bullshit about gas prices a lot of times. This is a tangent, but I just want to say, everybody, go follow Mr. Global. He is a independent. He is not a leftist. He is an oil and energy gas expert. He works in the business, and he has lots of content on TikTok about this and about what happened under Trump. I mean, look him up. He's not, like I said, he's not a leftist. He's an independent. He calls Biden out for his bullshit. But if you want to know about oil and gas and what's happening and all of that guy, because he's smart as shit.
All right. Fair enough. I'll go ahead and move it on, Mr. Walter. Appreciate you coming through.
Thank you.
Anytime. So moving the program on, and I do appreciate you folks that are sharing the live, tapping the screen on this later in the evening broadcast. Work duties is what led to this taking place. Nevertheless, here we are. You still have about 400 of you in here, so appreciate you folks still rolling with me on the program. Oddly enough, I haven't had a hell of a lot of people agree with religion being forced in schools. But when I say we run an uncensored program, folks, we absolutely do. When I say we're MAGA friendly, I mean that. And oddly enough, I haven't had many folks on this evening that support the forcing of religion on children. I mean, I get a lot of folks on the right on the program. Hopefully I continue getting a lot of them. I actually go looking for MAGA oftentimes. And oddly enough, I don't have a lot of folks that are favoring this. So even the right seems to believe that imposing religion on children by force is kind of wrong. And I'm getting, most of the folks that I've talked to this evening have been Christians. Coming in and saying, yes, I'm a Christian, but I don't believe in, so it's odd. I was really weird about that. So looking in the comments though, Linda Mayport says, I think you're becoming a MAGA. So yours truly, you believe that I am leaning more towards the MAGA mindset. I don't see everything that Trump says or MAGA believes in is outrageous. I mean, I think they make some points. I think the liberals make some points. But there's a hell of a lot to criticize that MAGA supports, and there are things to criticize about the left. So, by the way, when you say you think I'm MAGA, MAGA thinks I'm a libtard. So, I understand it, but I do appreciate the comment. I can tell you're a middle. I call you middle free thinker. Thank you, there, Q-Mate. And I think I'm a little bit center left, but yeah, I'm not MAGA, and I'm not like hardcore progressive. Trump undersold Biden by editing his speech tapes. I think Biden will show up at the debates and win. I think Biden, before I continue the program, I think Biden has a almost like an unfair advantage. And it's not because Biden created the unfair advantage he has. I think that Trump, and to some degree my beloved MAGA, has lowered the bar for Biden so much that all he has to do is come on stage and sound coherent. I mean, Trump in MAGA has portrayed Biden as, like I always say, sounding like Ozzy Osbourne and looking like Michael J. Fox. If he comes out there and he looks like a dignified old guy, he's already won because they've lowered the bar. And I agree with you, Alter Ego, in the comments says that's MAGA's fault. It is. It is. They portrayed him to be so out of his mind that the standard for him to defeat Trump, in my opinion, is really low because they portrayed him to be so damn bad. I mean, just in the last week, we saw Biden being ridiculed for not dancing at a Juneteenth celebration. I think that was yesterday. We saw Biden being escorted off the stage with Obama. He was ridiculed for that as not being within his faculties. And then I believe, what was it, a Normandy, or some paratroopers that came down and he was looking at one of them and they're passing videos around saying he was wandering off. And that's all within the past week, suggesting that this guy's like really, really out of his mind. All right, we'll see him in 7 days. If he doesn't look like they portrayed him in those videos, yeah, it's going to really help Biden out because they don't release a lot of media suggesting that Biden is really, really out of his mind. And I see in the comments, Leonard said they're edited videos. Well, if he gets on stage and he looks coherent, that will go a long way in the suggesting that those videos are edited. Because those videos are like, when he gets on stage at the debate next Thursday night, this time next Thursday, we'll be having a debate. When he gets on stage, those videos will only be like 7, 8, 9 days old. So if he's out there looking coherent, it will be easy to get people to believe it. Maybe they did edit some of those videos. How is he on stage right now looking like this when those videos are only from 7 or 8 days ago? We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And I see somebody said same at the State of the Union address. Yep. Lisa, yeah, exactly. The State of the Union address was another perfect example where he gets up there and he sounds completely coherent, which just really makes the State of the Union address turn into a home run because people ain't even focusing on what he says. They're expecting him to behave and stumble like MAGA has portrayed him to be. And they're just really focusing on him while he's speaking, expecting him to stumble, stutter, and fall. He don't even need to really say anything of any significance. He just needs to stand there and speak in a dignified manner. The bar is that low. So we'll see what happens. Looking in the comments, though, MAGA, how these polls today on Fox. Yeah, holiday. Appreciate the comment. Fox News, their poll is suggesting that Biden is now in the lead. Only by, we talk about margin of error stuff, but Biden has taken the lead over Trump. Fox News poll, not CNN or MSNBC, Fox News, their poll puts Biden in the lead. Fox News ain't calling a bunch of hardcore progressives. So if their poll shows that Biden is in the lead, it wouldn't surprise me if it's bigger than what they're telling you, because Fox News is not pro-Biden by any stretch of the imagination. And continuing on with the program, and we'll go straight to one of the friends of the program, Gen X. Fuck around and find out. Good evening, Gen X. Somebody says Biden is going to whoop that orange trick. Oh my God. So
What up, my brother from another mother?
now I'm good to have you. Good to have you on. You might be the man. Forced religion in schools. What say you?
Absolutely. Hand each one of those little bastards a Bible and get their minds right. Get their minds right, Tim.
You think they really need to be taught about sodomy and all of that stuff?
No, I don't think it needs to go that far, but I don't think the representation. And I know you're going to cherry pick this and the adultery thing.
It's the Bible. You said hand them a Bible. That's in there.
The simple representation of decent morals and a way to conduct yourself and behave is not a bad thing for children. You can't make me believe that. That's not bad. And here's why I say that. I used to think the exact same way about religion in the schools, and,
Right.
The Ten Commandments and this and that, up through the 80s and 90s. And my perspective kind of shifted, because here's what happened. When did they take religion out of schools? In the 70s, going on the 80s, they completely got away from that. And what happened in the 90s and the 2000s? Those little bastards started shooting shit up. People went buck wild because there was no fear of consequences.
I don't know, because we can talk about the Catholic Church using religion to keep kids quiet while they were molesting them. And you can use religion for bad stuff as well.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But the simple representation of something good, like they say, if you put in good, you get good back out. I think basically that's not a bad philosophy.
Why not just teach them good? Why does it have to be done from a point of Christianity? I mean, because what about Muslim kids? Do we not care about them?
The Muslims believe in the Ten Commandments. They know about the Ten Commandments.
Yeah, but we're not teaching. We're teaching them, like, for instance, one of the commandments is, thou shalt have no other God before me. They call their God Allah, or some people may call him Buddha, or some may call him Jehovah. Why do we have to call him God? Why do we have to pick the name that the Christians use?
And again, you don't got to, I'm not saying teach them anything. I'm saying a simple representation of something positive. Don't kill. Don't steal. Honor your mother and father. All right, keep holy the Sabbath day. That's debatable. But just the basic, and you said something that kind of makes sense. Even if they were to cherry pick which commandment to put up there, the ones that don't necessarily lean towards God or Christianity or religion, just the hardcore. Don't kill. Don't steal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but this is what I would say. This is what I would say, because there's a lot of schools right now that say things like, love each other, and that promote messages of racial harmony and Black Lives Matter and stuff. You can take this stuff and word it and not state it's coming out of the Ten Commandments. Be kind to your fellow student, or don't kill. I mean, I don't know why putting "don't kill" in school seems pretty harsh, though. Do you really need to tell the kids don't kill each other?
Are they killing each other in some cases?
Yeah.
And I'd say that's not a bad thing to say.
God. But you can put this stuff up from a non-Christian standpoint. I don't think you need to call it the Ten Commandments. You could actually interpret this stuff in plain English. Take out the thous and the thy shall nots, just in plain English. Talk about the value of life, and that'll tell kids not to kill each other. But talking about coveting your neighbor's wife and all, committing adultery and all that, I don't think that should be put on kids.
And again, like you said earlier, there's a conversation to be had there on taking just some of the main stuff and putting that up. And it's not even, again, it's not about forcing it on them. It's just having that positive representation of something good where a kid can walk by every day and see it. They might not even look at it twice. But positive will always get back positive.
To me, what I think it's going to do is, because the kids nowadays are so so much more educated than you and I were when we only had an encyclopedia or the public library or the nightly news to go by. With them having their smartphones and things like that, they're going to be arguing with each other over how bad all the evils of Christianity, and saying, why the heck would you even believe? Why would you even follow this religion? Because you can go on the internet and point out all sorts of bad stuff that has come by way of Christianity, God, and that religion. But to have this on the wall, I think it's going to actually make the kids argue and fight with each other.
I don't know. That, again, it's debatable, but I agree with it. I don't see that as a bad thing at all. I don't.
I don't see it as the problem. I don't have a problem with the Ten Commandments. I have a problem with forcing it on the children. When we talk about shoving, LGBT issues or CRT or DEI down the throats of children, how is this not shoving religion down their throat?
Because it teaches two different things.
What do you mean?
If you're talking LGBT or whatever, and I'm going to get the hate on this one, but that teaches perversion and degeneracy and an abnormal way of life. That 50 years ago, 100 years ago, there ain't no way you could have that shit in school around children. That should not be around kids, man. Leave our kids alone. Let them be children. I'm not even adverse to saying you can't get your little ass on the internet till you're 18 years old. You can't smoke till you're 18. You can't drink till you're 18. You can't join the military till you're 18. Be a child. Be a kid.
Gen X, you know, I always consider you a friend of the show, but you're doing exactly what I talked about. You got to worry about when you start talking about kids cannot have access to the internet. Now you're really limiting their ability to learn, and whereas now a select group of adults have the ability to teach that kid what they think that kid should know. Once you take the internet out of their world, you really can control what they learn.
I got a whole thing of World Book encyclopedias. I'll gladly donate to my local school. Let them learn with those like we did.
But no internet.
Let your thumbs not be lazy, Tim.
You're scaring me though, man. You're scaring me. I do believe that the kids, because if we believe that a child should wait till they're 18 to decide about issues concerning sexuality, why doesn't that apply to religion as well? Your religion is a serious choice as well. Why do we want to force this on them? I mean, you go to any church on a Sunday, look around at the kids that are there, particularly the kids that are in church under 12 years old. You tell me they really want to be there? That's being forced on them. Most kids that are under 12, if they had their own ability to choose, they wouldn't go to church. They're being forced to go there.
And what's the main word there, Tim?
It ain't freedom.
No, it's kids. They're children.
Right. So if you don't want to,
This is how I was raised, and I came out pretty good. You came out pretty good. I know damn well you was raised well. There ain't a doubt in my mind.
Well,
just because of the person you present today, and that's a lot to do with your upbringing, bro. Yeah, we can argue about it all day, but you know it's true.
Well, my baby mama might disagree with you, but I will just say this though. I don't know if taking the child's ability to decide what religion they want to be in away from them and shoving religion down their throat is necessarily a good thing, because religion can make you feel like you're inadequate, particularly if you're born gay. I mean, if you're gay, the Bible teaches you that you're just a mess.
And in some cases, it's very true.
Oh my God.
In some cases, that's very true, man. I'm not going to sugarcoat that.
How so?
Because it's abnormal and it's perverted. That's not how it's supposed to be. God gave Adam Eve, not Steve.
So what if a child is born with 3 fingers? Is he a mess?
Man, that's a redirection, Tim. Now, don't go there.
That you talked about not being normal, being a perversion. If a human being, because we make it sound like with sexuality, God is hold on. Huh?
And being physically different is 2 completely different ball games.
How? Explain.
Because being a sexual deviant, bro, that's mental illness.
You telling me a child cannot be born mentally ill?
No, I never said that.
That's what it sounds like you're saying.
A lot are born mentally ill. It's arguably if I'm nuts. That's arguable.
Here's the point I'm trying to make. We look at, when it comes to human beings, we got people being born with 2 heads. We got people being born with no legs, no eyes, born with dangerous diseases, cancer, and things like that. But for some reason, when it comes to sexuality, we believe God is perfect. We're looking at physically imperfect human beings being born every single day in this country. Why would we believe when it comes to sexuality, it's going to be 100% accurate? None of the other developments of a human being is 100% accurate. Why would you think the sexuality is going to be that way?
It's never going to be 100%, but the majority is not.
The
majority is not.
So you believe that God could create somebody that is gay from birth?
No, because God creates us with free will.
So you're saying
I don't think kids are born gay. First of all, I think that's a learned behavior.
What?
I think that is a learned behavior.
What about heterosexuality?
I think that's natural.
So
that's in our DNA. We're programmed by our DNA to be heterosexual.
We're programmed by our DNA not to kill people. You see people kill each other all the time. I mean, what I'm saying is
exactly you made my point for me. That's a learned behavior. Exactly.
No.
You made my point for me. Yep, absolutely.
I don't think it's a learned behavior. I think sometimes a person can become mentally ill. You don't learn to be suicidal, yet people do it every day. It's not a learned behavior. Sometimes there's a such thing as mentally ill.
Mental illness is a rough one, man. That's
Here's the point I'm trying to make is I don't understand. Like you mentioned, it's normal to be a heterosexual. I agree with you with that. It's in our DNA. Just like it's in our DNA to be born with 5 toes and 5 fingers on each limb. But there are imperfections that come out of the womb every day. I don't understand why when it comes to heterosexual, we think it's a perfect outcome. Just like there's somebody who could be born with 2 heads, why can't there be somebody born from birth that's not?
Because it's not the norm.
2 heads is not the norm.
Yeah, so exactly my point. That is not the norm. You don't have kids being born even 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100. It might be 1 out of 100,000.
Well,
it's not the norm.
No, it's not the norm, but it does happen.
It does.
Okay. So when I say it does happen, somebody can be born gay then, right?
No. No, it's a learned behavior, man. You're not born gay. I don't believe that. I will not believe that.
Okay.
It's a learned behavior.
Okay. I don't.
Biden, let me say this. Biden, I don't mean to switch. We're never going to agree on that, my brother. We're never going to agree on that.
Let me ask you before you move it on. Do you believe animals could be born gay?
I think animals are a completely different animal than humans.
That ain't what I'm asking you, though. Can they be born gay?
No.
Okay. What are you moving on to? We disagree, but what are you moving on to?
Biden's not going to be around for the November election. They're going to replace him.
You do believe he will not be. You know, I would say I need to see it, and I'm not totally disagreeing with you. I would say right now I feel there's a 90% chance Biden is going to be around, but I will. My answer may change on the next Thursday night if he shows up to the debate and he actually looks like MAGA and Trump is saying he looks. Then I'm gonna say, yeah. And now I would be more on your side. But if he comes out there and looks like he did at the State of the Union address, Biden is going to be the guy.
Here's my thing: even those on his side, on the Democratic side of the coin, they see the cognitive decline. You see it. I've heard you admit it.
Yeah.
You see the cognitive decline.
But
you cannot tell me that 4 years down the road, that man is going to be any less cognitively declined than he is now. That's a progression. But bro, it's nothing he did wrong. The man is old, man. That's what happened when we become old.
But Gen X, I agree with you that I've seen some cognitive decline in Biden, but I see it in Trump too. Trump ain't. We just
I never said that.
Okay, but that's the point I'm making is you're talking about a whopping 4 years. We look at Biden; he's in cognitive decline. He's already in his 80s. Imagine him leaving office at 86, and it seems like a train wreck. But Trump, if he gets elected, he's going to be the age Biden was when he got elected in 2020. Trump is not that much younger, despite people thinking he's walking around like Richard Gere or something. He's not young either. 4 years of Trump, he could be out of it. I mean, he really, really could. I mean, that guy's under a lot of stress right now. He could be out of it too.
He could be.
Yeah.
But as it stands today, Trump is nowhere near as cognitively declined as Joe Biden is. It's not even close.
I would say I agree with you about 30%. I think the reason Biden is out of it is the reason Biden looks like he's out of it is not only because of some of the things he's doing, but the right is really blowing it out of proportion. Whereas the stuff I'm talking about in regards to Trump, the right says almost nothing about it. And the left says something about it for maybe a couple days and they stop. Whereas if Biden gets out there and falls down, the right will play that shit 1,000 times. If Trump gets up there and talks about Civil War soldiers defending airports 100 years before the invention of the airplane, the left will talk about that for maybe a week at best and they stop. And the right ain't gonna say shit about it at all. The left is actually pointing out some of Biden's flaws. The right is not pointing out anything that Trump does that looks like he's in cognitive decline. So while I agree with you that Biden is in cognitive decline to some degree, the way it's being portrayed in the media is far more biased against Biden than Trump.
I think the difference is you're correct. The right blows it out of proportion, and we do because that's just how it is.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that the left is really starting to see it as well, and they're not going to blow it out of proportion like the right does, but they're seeing it. They're seeing it and they're raising an eyebrow. And what I think they're saying now is, well, if Joe gets in there and in a year he's gone, we've got a woman there who wasn't electable in the first place. Now we have her as a president. I think they're going to go with Gavin Newsom and get Kamala as the Californian governor.
I will say this though, when it comes to Kamala, I won't say I'm a fan of hers or a foe. I don't know what the woman might do. I mean, I think a lot of folks are just automatically portraying her as Dr. Evil. She might actually get in there and do a good damn job or be fairly neutral. We don't know. I mean, she has a record in California that some African Americans, for instance, don't like because she was tough on crime. Oddly enough, the Republicans are saying she would be a bad president when she was doing what they prefer. She was part of the three strikes bill, part of the crime bill, all of the stuff that the right normally would favor. They're suddenly saying she's a bad choice. The little bit of history we know about Kamala should be right up any right-winger's alley. but because she's liberal, well, we think she's terrible.
Let me give you my number one reason I fear Kamala as our president. You know, a lot of people put the whole border thing on Biden, and I think ultimately he is responsible. But if you remember correctly, when Joe Biden had his hands full in 2021, he appointed Kamala Harris to the southern border, and she completely botched that. Now, I think had Joe Biden handled that himself, I think it would have still been a mess, but I do not believe in my heart of hearts that that man would have screwed up the southern border a third of as much as Kamala Harris did. And then he had to go back in and try to clean it up, and it's too late. She didn't even go to the southern border. She took off down to Guatemala.
Well, I get your point, but if you want to talk about a president making bad appointments, I think you already know where I'm going to go with that.
Oh, yeah, you're going to go to Trump's cabinet, who he appointed, and this and that. I know that. I read the writing on the wall, bro.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. I mean, even the people that you guys liked, you call them bad appointments now, up to and including Dr. Fauci. I mean, all of that stuff came by way of Trump. So I don't know what else to say with that one.
If she can't handle just the southern border, can you imagine if they throw all the international shit at her too? Now she's ultimately responsible for everything.
Well,
that's something you want to you can get behind, or put somebody in the Democrats who might be a little more competent with this shit.
Here's why I disagree. When Trump ran for office, he stated, "I'm gonna surround myself with the best and brightest." And the reason he said that is because he had no political history. He was just a successful businessman. So to get folks to support him, I'm going to surround myself with the best and brightest, people who know how to handle these areas that you're concerned. Kamala could do the same thing. When you say that she's not going to be handle world affairs and things like that, if she got General Milley over here or General Petraeus over there, all she has to do is take their damn advice and we'll be okay.
If you didn't like what Trump did, can you imagine what Kamala would do with appointments? Trump went in there, and I'll give you this. Trump went in there thinking that he knew the swamp, and he didn't. Not only did he have the Democrats throwing the kitchen sink at him while he's trying to figure shit out, he had half the country hating him, the media fucking cutting him down every chance they got, plus he couldn't keep his mouth shut on social media and added to the fire.
Yeah.
He shot himself not in one foot, but in both feet.
Yeah. I will tell you right off the bat, in regards to the media never giving Trump a chance from day one, yeah, in regards to what you pointed out, shutting his mouth, if he had done that, I think half of those fights he was in would have never took place, or they would have fizzled out pretty damn quick. Like, going after Colin Kaepernick for taking a knee. That's a fight that didn't need to happen. He just should have just let that happen. Let the Rush Limbaughs or Sean Hannity's go after Colin Kaepernick. As president, he didn't need to get involved in that.
With the state of our international affairs right now, we got 10 Russian warships off the Miami coast, 2 tugboats, and 2 nuclear submarines. Israel's in chaos. We just stopped sending them weapons. Netanyahu's all freaking out, and he's all pissed off at America now. You really want to put someone like Kamala Harris or somebody with their mental facilities not there, like Joe Biden, running all that shit? I know the Democrats.
Well, yeah, because
recipe for disaster, and that's why they will push to find their biggest and brightest and get them on the ballot in November. Now, I don't know who that is yet, but I think they're going to make a push for that. I really do.
Yeah, but when you mention your concerns with Kamala, you're concerned with world issues. You're mentioning the ships that are outside of Cuba and things like that. A lot of folks are worried about body autonomy, worried about kids getting shot in schools, worried about tuition. I mean, the things that folks who would support Kamala are concerned with. You don't care about that stuff.
No, you know why? Because if they hit us with 300 ballistic nuclear missiles, ain't none of that shit gonna matter.
Yeah. I don't, but this is what I mean when I say as long as you got the correct appointments. Russia would know, even if you got Kamala in there, you think she's weak as possible, you need to know who's on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's advising her. Because even you may feel like she isn't capable of the job, but if she's got the right military personnel behind her, she is just as capable as anybody else. You don't know, like that's what I said. When Trump said he's going to surround himself with the best and brightest, as long as she has intelligent military personnel and war strategists around her, she's fine with that. She'll do fine.
She'd just take off to Russia, come back licking her lips and say, I got this handled, and everybody gonna turn around and go home.
I gotta go. I get the dick sucking reference. Appreciate you coming on as always, Gen X. You're mean for that.
Have a great rest of your week, and the Lord saith, ladies, make Gen Xer a sandwich.
Oh my God, bless your heart. Moving on. So, looking in the comments, what did I say? Too special for you, says sick in my head, the racism. Well, there certainly is a lot of belief among the right wingers that Kamala slept her way to the top. I mean, she was, I believe, one of her not subordinates, but her superiors. She had an affair with a married man back in California in one of her positions, but I don't believe that, she slept her way. I do believe the woman is intelligent and earned her way up there, but I know the right is not going to agree with that. And I see some folks are referring to that as outright racism. All right. What did Melania do, says Leonard? Yeah, I think that's a really, really good counterpoint. Melania absolutely used her body to achieve greatness. Absolutely. Looking at the comments, the special prosecutor needs to investigate Eileen Cannon's personal life like they did Fonnie Willis. I think you make a good case. That's the judge down in Miami that is doing everything she can to derail Jack Smith's case. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Pep says that's not right wingers. It's men that believe that. You think liberal men also believe that Kamala, which I can't think which, I get the pronunciation, but you think that liberal men believe that as well, that she slept her way to the top? I don't buy that. I mean, she had to go through law school and things like that. She's in elected positions. It's not like her entire career was due to just appointments where she could sleep. No, she actually got elected. I don't buy that it's only that everybody believes that. Kamala. Okay, there we go. Kamala. Because sometimes I say Kamala. Kamala's, remember for you folks who are old enough, I won't say African American, he was just a straight African wrestler back in the WWF days, had the moon and the star on his belly. Kamala, I mean, some of you folks may be old enough to remember it, but Kamala and Kamala, I do get them mixed. Yeah, the Ugandan giant, Alter Ego remembers it. All right. Men are intimidated by strong women. I don't know if I totally agree with that. I think if you are a strong individual and you are personable, I don't believe people will be intimidated by you. If you are a strong, independent woman or man, and you come across as, like Trump, boisterous, egotistic, yeah, I think that can cause that to happen, regardless of your gender. Anyhow, moving on with the program, I don't like Kamala as the vice president. They should replace her with Jasmine. Jasmine, who going to the box, will keep it going with the one and only DJ Julio. Yeah, thank you for that hat and mustache, DJ Julio. The box is having a few issues here. I think MAGA is afraid of all women, says Dina Clark. You think MAGA has a problem with the female species? Really? Yikes. That could be bad. I get a lot of female MAGA come through the program. I always shout them out. There's a lot of women out there that are Republicans and MAGA alike. So you believe that women and MAGA don't go together? DJ Julio, your party has a problem with women. What say you? Okay, I don't know if he dropped.
Are you talking?
I'm talking to you.
On or who's on?
You are on.
Hello.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't see you anymore, and you're where I'm normally at.
Okay, I'll reset your side. I'll drop you. Come on back. Apparently something's wrong there. How about Sarah Palin? Sarah Palin was a bad choice back in 2008 for the late John McCain. Obviously, a very bad choice. Wasn't properly vetted. I guess he just needed a conservative woman and grabbed her. I mean, she was governor of Alaska, and she had been mayor of a real Wasilla, Alaska, I think it was, a small town, but she obviously wasn't properly vetted. And I believe Meghan McCain, who used to be on The View, often stated that she was, her dad realized after they picked her as a running mate, it was a bad idea. Let me try it again with DJ Julio. Don't know what happened last time though, but and she could see Russia from her house. That was a Saturday Night Live skit, I believe. I don't think she actually said that. I can see Russia from my house. DJ Julio, you may have. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Yeah, DJ Julio, there must be some kind of signal issue. You said she said it. Happy Joy says she actually said that. Really? I can see Russia from my house. Was she that unintelligent? I don't know. Helen, let's try it again. DJ Julio, we'll give it a second. Let me see if another guest works. If not, we will try to see if I can switch to Wi-Fi or something. I don't know what's going on. Let me try it one more time. First day. Maybe we are having problems with the box here. Trump's father had to bail him out twice. I've heard that before. I don't know if it's valid, but I have heard that. First day, good evening.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
I'm loud and clear.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, I appreciate it. Good to have you on. Religion being forcibly placed in schools. What say you?
I think it's weird. I think it's, why would you expect a religion to teach you these societal norms when you should just be teaching that as a societal norm, as your parents should be teaching you? Why is it the school's responsibility to teach you just basic human living?
Yeah. So, but would you be are you Christian? First of all, are you a Christian man?
No.
So you're not Christian.
No, I have Christian friends and everything, and none of them I don't think would agree with this either.
Do you believe this is harmful to children?
I don't necessarily think it's harmful. I think it is because it's making you identify as a normality with something that you might not possibly believe or identify with. It's saying that you can believe these things, but you have to believe them in a specific way, the Christian way, and that's what I don't think is right.
Yeah. Yeah, the first commandment says, is basically, thou shalt have no other God before me. And that when folks say it's okay because it teaches children morals, thou shalt have no other God before me has nothing to do with morals. That is just a straight religious play. So I think it. Go ahead.
There's a lot of people who have brought to the point that I don't rape and kill people not because of God, but it's because I just don't do those things.
Yeah. Well, the religious side is going to say you don't do those things because God put it into you not to want to do those things.
But there's non-religious people that don't do those things every day.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't, just because you're not religious, and I'm taking the Christian aspect side of it, just because you're not religious doesn't mean God doesn't have his hands on you.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that, but thinking too about what Gen Xer was saying about the perversion of homosexuality, I find that baffling too, because the idea that homosexuality is somehow perverse when there's hundreds of 60,000 women a year get assaulted by men.
Yeah.
That's how many homosexual men are out there assaulting people versus just men assaulting people, right?
Yeah.
Straight men.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with you that when you're talking about sexual assault, the overwhelming majority of that is by straight men. I don't think a bunch of gay dudes are going. It's mostly, it's overwhelmingly straight men that are doing that.
You certainly don't see, trans people or homosexual. I'm sure it happens, but that's because they're predators, not because of their sexuality,
right?
Or who they identify as. And putting that up in school, I just think it sets a bad precedent, because it sets the precedent that Christianity is right, and they might be positive values, but why do you have to have the Christian behind it? Satanism has positive values, actually.
Well, I wanna present this to you because I haven't presented it to any of the guests that preceded you. But when we talk about an actual law that is now officially on the books requiring the Ten Commandments to be prominently displayed in schools, the question I'd ask you and to folks in the comment section as well, I'd ask folks in the comment section, do you believe that a state like Louisiana will stop at the Ten Commandments? Or is it possible that this may be only a start for where it may go, because you could forcibly promote religion in other aspects of life too.
What's that saying? You can't shake the devil's hand and say you're only kidding, right? You open up that door.
Yeah. I mean, like you could have a required mandatory half-hour praying session. Like in the Middle East, they have to give them time to pray. I mean, you could have a praying session. You could start requiring, networks on the weekends to devote 30 minutes of religious cartoons. I mean, there's a lot of avenues you could go with this.
I think requiring anybody to pray is terrible. But I also think that if you want to pray in church, you should be able to. It goes both ways. But I highly doubt that. I've never heard of a case, and I'm sure that somebody's going to say that it exists, where somebody was praying in a school and somebody felt that their rights were offended. I have teacher friends, and one of them, actually, she was just telling me about this. She's not religious, but a lot of the staff is, and they asked her if they would like her to join an after-school prayer, and she said no, and they're like, okay, and that was it. Nobody was offended. They weren't offended that she didn't want to. She wasn't offended that they asked her to.
Yeah.
I think people are so normal, and I think people are more normal than we give them credit for. I think the average Christian isn't going to care if you're Christian, and I think the average non-Christian isn't going to care if you are Christian. I think this is all getting blown out of proportion.
I don't know about that. When you say you don't think the average Christian is going to care if you're Christian or not, here's the issue I have with it. I mean, I've had, friends myself, ex-girlfriends, they find religion and then, they become what they refer to as being saved. And then suddenly they're pointing out all the sins you're committing. Once they find God, they're now pointing out all the things you're doing wrong. So when you say that people are not going to have a problem with you not being Christian, I don't know if I agree because I've seen the adverse.
Sure, there definitely is a group of people that go out there and try to pray out the gay and tell you that you're doing wrong. But I think there are plenty of those. But I think as far as the number of Christians go, it's a smaller portion than what's being portrayed.
Yeah. How about this? Now in the comments, Pep says schools should be required, in caps, required to offer a private place to pray, no forcing or teaching anything. Required to offer a private place to pray. Would you get behind that?
I don't initially see an issue with that. That would be one of those wait and sees, I think that it's important to give space to people that need it. So I would be okay with that. A lot of my teacher friends get a lot of comments because there's a quiet room for kids when they're getting just too out of control. They go in the quiet room, right? So,
I actually, as a working man, I would love that idea because that sounds like at the job, that would be the new break room. I'm tired of working right now. I'm about to go pray. I'll be back in 20 minutes. I like that.
Perfectly fine with it. I'm perfectly fine with that. Who knows what you do in that quiet room? If you
right.
Pray, do whatever you want, that's fine.
Yeah, I tend to snore a little bit when I get really into prayer. I'm not asleep. I'm just kind of sanctified right now.
You and me both.
All right. First date. Is that first time talking?
Yeah. First time talking on any live TikTok. Yeah.
Wow. I do appreciate you coming on. I do gotta part ways with you, but you're welcome anytime. Come on back through, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
You too. And real quick in the comments, I want to tell you folks, we are obviously on the backup profile. Had some issues with the main profile. So for you folks who may have not followed the page before or seen this show, the Handsome Liberal, spelled correctly, is the main page. Monday through Friday, 1 p.m., 1,300 hours is where you'll find us. I think the ban is about a week, so we're going to be here for about another 5 days. So, but I would invite you to follow the main page. Has about 3 times as many followers or more. And generally, our audience is about, what we got, about 400 up here. We normally have about 2 to 3 times as many viewers on at any given time. So the Handsome Liberal is the main page. You'll see the picture and all of that. Anyway, looking in the comments, I was looking for you at 1,300, says Gadio. Yeah, that's normally where we know. Our numbers are pretty high up there on the main page. Woke is the current religion pushed on others. You believe woke is a religion? I don't get the comparison to that. I grew up learning about Christopher Columbus in schools all the time. They push that on us. And that's, I believe, would be the problem. Before we go back to the box, I said that I think that promoting religion in schools could cause a lot of conflict. And it's for stuff like what Mr. Ma just typed in about, learning about Christopher Columbus and how great General Lee and Stonewall Jackson, how great of people these people were when they were actually fighting for slavery and all kinds of oppression. The children nowadays are far more knowledgeable of the fact that we've been fed propaganda and history has been whitewashed. Religion has a lot of that in there. And these kids are going to probably end up in schools debating it, arguing with their teachers about it and things like that. So I don't favor it from that standpoint, because we know a lot of things that even came down from the hand. I mean, a lot of religion is Christianity, particularly. A lot of it has roots in white supremacy. So you're going to have children pushing back on it. I mean, there are real legitimate cases to be made that a lot of that stuff started from a standpoint of white supremacy. You think the kids aren't going to find that out? Looking in the comments, can't imagine being an adult and leaving my family behind to serve a prison time for a con artist. I'm assuming you're talking about the beloved January 6th protesters. Moving on with the program though. Wow, leaving my family behind to go serve time for a con artist. Yikes. You sir need more coffee. Friend of the program, good evening. I see Frankie Vaughn says Trump train in all caps. You sir need more coffee. Good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Religion in schools by force. What say you?
Well, we have spoken before. I served in Iraq 3 times as a female.
I do recall.
Combat veteran.
I do recall.
And for me, I think it's a way to program the kids. And how I seen it, and like for example in Iraq, it used to be a very liberal country at one point. Well, not super, but westernized. And religion is the one that brought Iraq where they at right now. The same thing with Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So I definitely don't agree with this. You can have your you can have your religion in your church, but not in school. Yeah. I think it's a way to program the kids. Very, and I really don't agree with that.
What about the notion that the programming?
I'm an atheist. My kids don't know anything about God. They have not been exposed to anything as far as God or church, or they don't know nothing about it.
You're a you are a combat veteran and you're an atheist. I was always taught there's no atheist in foxholes. Apparently she has a issue with. We'll give her a moment to correct her device because I don't think she can hear me.
Here we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Now.
You said you're a combat.
I was on the Bluetooth. I'm sorry.
You're a combat veteran and an atheist?
Yes, sir. I became an atheist on my first deployment.
Wow. I was always taught there were no atheists in foxholes. How did that happen?
Seeing how like my friends were asking for a deity for help and nothing was coming. That was my first question.
That's a good point.
That was my first question, and we lost a lot of good people, and I'm sure they were begging God for help. And when we were getting attacked or we're under attack or in a firefight, everybody was asking for God, and nothing ever happened. Nothing ever changed. The same thing when I saw this Muslim or Islam people asking for their own God while we were getting them under attack.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So that's when I started questioning and I started reading more. And I figured it out by myself. I started asking questions to the priests and the pastors that they were in Iraq with the army, and nobody had my answers to my questions. And then I read more and more and more and more. By the second deployment that I went, it was over. It was done. And it was a difficult decision because I was raised Catholic and I have everything that you're supposed to have.
Yeah. Wow. I mean,
But,
that is
it's a must.
that is an interesting point. When you have a war, you realize, I agree with you. A lot of people are going to die begging the Lord for help. I mean, they were calling out. You know, you see the movie Saving Private Ryan. The guy's got his whole, he's been disemboweled and he's calling for his mom. But I gotta assume a lot of people die calling for God. I mean, you're probably that makes sense.
Every day they were always getting prayers and doing all this stuff, and it's just the way when you haven't been in a situation where your life is at stake, then you figure out things faster than most people.
Wow.
And then you see the religion aspect on them and how much it has taken their rights away, because it's a way to control. It's the same thing. It's the way to control. Because if you do this, you're not allowed to do that. But then if you don't do this, and if you end up not doing this and loving me and doing all this stuff, then you're not going to go to heaven with me. But that's an absent father.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. Religion certainly is a way to control the population. And I would also say that when you look at the countries on earth, the more religious a nation is, the less free the people in that nation generally are. The nations that have the most freedom typically have the least amount of religious people in it. I mean, like, the Western Europe countries, they're not very deep in religion. Where the religion is really strong is out in Africa and the Middle East. So, I see the control.
And you can see how the rights are, like I said, like Iraq, women are, they're third class citizens. I think they're the same as a cow.
Damn.
And so it's a horrible thing. You've seen men walking in front of their women, and they're supposed to be stay three steps behind.
Wow. Now you don't see the right, because I had a guest on here earlier that said the right is trying to control and limit the freedoms and rights of women. You don't see that though, do you?
Oh, 100%. I can see how is that happening already. For me, women's rights, that's why I'm not voting Republican anymore. Women's rights to me is 100% my point, because I have seen what it has done to women in other countries that we fought for their rights, and I see how horrible it is.
Wow.
They're already enfranchising on women's rights. 100%. If I was able to fight in a war next to men, what makes them think that I'm not going to have the same rights as them?
Damn, that is so well placed. I can't argue that. Right. If you can fight for the damn country, and that's the same argument I wish I could have told my own grandfather who fought in World War II. Because once again, just like you're talking about, he fought in a war for the country and then came back home and did not have equality in this country. And it's like, if she can serve in combat, she should be able to make a choice of what she want to do with her body. I can't disagree with you anymore on that. I mean, I agree with you. I couldn't agree any more with you on that.
Yeah, and I feel like I not only fought for females' rights, and I went and fought in Iraq for all the U.S. citizens, so nothing would happen here. And now they're trying to take away my kids and my rights away. So no, that's as a veteran, and I served in the military for 16 years. I always was a Republican, but not anymore. Now, after I see what's going on with all this nonsense with religion and women's rights and gay rights and LGBTQ. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
No, you good. You good.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, once I became atheist, all those views that I had towards people different than me changed. I I enjoy life more. I see my life like this is the only one that I have. I love everyone, and I have no different distinction to anybody. So I just want everybody to be happy, basically. And when you take their rights away, you're oppressing those people.
Yeah.
And 100%, I don't agree with that.
Well said.
And if these patriots don't think about their females has the same as them, then we're going in the wrong direction.
So you do agree with what so the monitor behind me, you see us as going backwards.
Definitely, 100%. Yes. They're trying to take, there's some other states that they're already letting kids work in certain states.
Yeah, I've heard. I have heard that. They're passing laws to allow children to go work. I have heard about it.
We're definitely going backwards because we're supposed to protect the kids. Isn't that their narrative all the time? That protect the kids, but it's okay for them to go to work?
Wow.
So it's it's a hypocrite thinking. They cherry pick what they want and what they don't like. So definitely I'm not okay with that. We all should be free. We all should have the same rights. It doesn't matter if you're purple, black, orange, it don't matter. The same thing is your sexuality has nothing to do with your rights as a human.
Wow. That's strong stuff. I don't think I've heard anything that I can disagree with. I don't think I've heard anything. I mean, certainly, like you said, too, if you were able to serve in combat, they should leave you the hell alone. I mean, there's nothing else I can say. I do got to move it on, though. You, sir, need coffee. I was expecting a man with a name like that, but...
As user has a user, the username.
Yes.
That's what it was. And a lot of people think it has a user, user. But yes, that's what it is. And I thought I just want to bring something up. Sure. I saw you in one of the lives, and you were talking about how here in the state of Texas, if you take the highways to go get an abortion, it's illegal.
I was told I was wrong about that.
Well, it's not. It is going through the representative through the House here in the state of Texas. So it is a working. It's a working process.
So they are trying to pass a law that makes it illegal to use the highways to go have an abortion.
Yes.
So that would mean that because they always say it's not about banning abortion, it's about giving the rights to the states. But if they pass a law that makes it a crime to use the highways, that means you really can't get out of the state. I guess you could fly only.
Yeah, I guess. What they're trying to do, and this is something I voted this last the election for what they're going to have in November. They're trying to do that. They're also trying to have only if you're a Democrat, you're not allowed to vote in the state of Texas. So they're trying to take that away. Yes, sir.
How the hell could they do that?
Yeah, well, they put it in has how do you call it, amendments that they're gonna try to vote for. So they're trying to do that too here in the state of Texas.
I haven't heard that.
I will send you the article, and I will send you the ballot too, because they do have it, and that's part of it. I'll send it to you in a message.
Yeah, that sounds like some secession type stuff. I got to move it on, though. Appreciate it. Wow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Anytime. That's disturbing. Wow. A Democrat. Oh, wait. Now, I see in the comments, none of your business says, none of your 81 says, Democrats can't vote in the Republican primary. That's different. And I think if that's what is actually happening, I don't know if I'm totally against it. If that's what Texas is doing, is trying to pass a law. Because fact is, you do have people crossing and voting for the other party in primaries so that they can make it harder on the candidate they don't want to win. Let's say Nikki Haley's running against Trump. All of a sudden you get a bunch of Democrats that come over and vote for Nikki Haley in the primary because they don't want Trump to win. I'm not totally against blocking that, because it's disingenuous. The people voting for Nikki Haley don't want her in office either. They're just doing it to game the primary. If that's what Texas is doing, I'm not totally against that, but at the end of the day, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. That means you got to stop Republicans from doing it too. There's a lot of Democrats that are running for offices in Texas. And I'm sure the Republicans do that same stuff, which is my whole election was stolen 2020 argument, is that Republicans are honest and Democrats cheat. That's not true. Any method that you can cheat with, a Republican, there are Republicans that are capable of cheating too, but I know folks who believe the 2020 election was stolen believe that Republicans are inherently honest and only Democrats cheat, which is why I don't think Trump will ever be able to prove his claims that he won by a landslide. I don't think he ever will be, because they're all based on assumptions that only Democrats cheat. It is what it is. Looking in the comments, Democrats refused voter ID. I believe that. A lot of Democrats claiming that, well, some people in poor areas and all. In my opinion, there's no excuse for a full-grown adult not to have an ID. If you can't afford an ID, I think voting is your least worry. But I will say this, if Louisiana has enough money to require that every single school in the state carries a poster board display of the 10 Commandments, and they have the tax money to pay for what we are certain is going to be legal challenges all the way up to the Supreme Court, they could have easily used that money instead of promoting the 10 Commandments and made a voter ID for everybody in the damn state and mailed it to them. To make a voter ID, your picture, maybe your fingerprint, a little bit of data about you, whether it's your address, your name, whatever they want to put on there, laminate that shit, mail it out to you. They can do that for pennies, because they're doing it in bulk. They're making millions of these things. That would have been far more productive than this 10 Commandments shit that the kids are not going to like anyway. The kids aren't going to like that. You're going to have a lot of Muslim, Jehovah's Witnesses, and kids like that that are going to be fighting against it in schools. Shit, you might have to put it up really high so some of the students don't tear it off the wall. You want people to have voter ID? How much would it cost to print it out and give it to them? Like I said, probably a nickel a pop or less. But the minute you start talking about giving the citizens a voter ID, well, who's going to pay for it? They should buy it themselves. If you can make the taxpayers fork over money for the 10 Commandments, give them the ID. And I would also submit this to you. One of the major issues with abortion you often hear is, I don't want my tax money going to something I don't believe in. Does anybody in Louisiana get the ability to say, I don't want my tax money going to a Christian-based poster in schools? I don't want my tax money going to things I don't believe in. Suddenly, when it's something the government favors, then suddenly it's okay now. You're forcing all of them folks in Louisiana, whether they're Christian or not, to pay for those poster boards. So that there goes the abortion argument. I don't want my money going to Planned Parenthood because I don't believe in it. It's okay when you're Christian and you don't believe in something. But when the person is not Christian, you don't give a damn how they believe. That's the way I'm viewing it. Looking in the comments, always poor reputation led states that focus on abortion, church, and LGBT. What about the opioid addiction in their rural towns? That's a legitimate question to be had. Democracy will mean California or New York will pick the leader. Mob rule. Kevin, I don't understand that one. People misunderstand the separation of church and state. Our country was founded on Christian Judo values, but even Muslims believe in the Old Testament. The 10 Commandments promote morals and values. When our country was founded, the separation of church and state, you're saying people misunderstand what separation of church and state means. The reason they misunderstand it is because the founding fathers never meant it. I always say it on the program. We have 3 slogans in this country that are akin to telling your friend or family member at a funeral when they're grieving over the loss of a loved one. You walk up to them, if you need anything, call me, because you know they're grieving. You don't really want them to call you. You're just telling them this bullshit to make them feel better during their time of grief. If you need anything, call me. Very similar to thoughts and prayers after any mass killing. That's useless. That's fucking useless. And we do it all the time. Well, we have 3 slogans in this country that are very similar to useless, meaningless statements. One being the separation of church and state. They said America's going to be separation of church and state. That's how the government's going to run. And right after they said that, they opened the Bible and started writing laws. A lot of our laws are based on biblical prophecies, biblical passages. So when they said separation of church and state, is just like telling a grieving loved one, call me if you need anything. They don't mean it. The other two phrases, bring us your tired, your weary, your poor, written on the Statue of Liberty, and all men are created equal. They didn't mean any of those phrases when they said them. Obviously, all men were not created equal when that statement came out. Women couldn't even vote. Even if you were a white male and you didn't have property, you couldn't vote. So they knew all men were not created equal when they said that. And the statement, bring us your tired, your weary, your poor, written on the Statue of Liberty, making it sound like America is somehow immigrant friendly. We've been harsh towards every group of immigrants that have graced our shores or our borders. From the Chinese, to the Polish, to the Italians, to now Hispanics, folks coming from the Ukraine. We were not providing any type of help to Jewish trying to escape the Holocaust. We didn't want them here. We have been hostile. Irish, I see in the comments, we have been hostile to every group of immigrants that have tried to get in this country throughout our history. And I think I know why. Falls under the category of takes one to know one. It's kind of like somebody on the street pulling capers, doing crimes. They don't trust a damn person out there at all because they know what they do. A criminal trusts no one because they know what they're on the street doing. They view everybody as suspicious. America, the original settlers, the original English settlers that came to this country were the worst immigrants that have ever come here. Essentially meaning we are the worst immigrants to ever come to this country. You talking about rapists and murderers and all that shit? That was us. We actually did that. So when I say takes one to know one, or I talk about a criminal that doesn't trust anybody, we know what we did as immigrants. So we're not trustworthy when other people come here because we think they might be like us. We know what we did. We came here and took over, killed off most of the inhabitants. We actually were rapists and murderers. They're not sending us their best and brightest. They're sending us their rapists and murderers. That was us. That was us when we came here. So now we fear everybody that comes here might be a danger to us because it takes one to know one. Look at what the 100,000 likes. I do appreciate that, folks. As always, this is a off duty. We kind of off hours with the live, but 1 p.m. Central, Monday through Friday. That is when you'll find us here. I do appreciate that 100,000 likes. Kind of an impromptu program, but tomorrow, yeah! Thank you for that hat mustache. A few of you folks that supported the program tonight. Alter Ego, thank you as well. Thank you for that hat mustache. Nevertheless, you will catch us here tomorrow, 1 p.m. Central. It is indeed your boy, the Handsome Liberal. I'll catch you then. And for my users on YouTube, certainly appreciate you folks. As always, I'll see you tomorrow.